What's happening in San Diego? Great Thursday to you. Hope you're doing well. Your midday hang is back together. It's Annie and Elsten on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. Annie Heilbrunn is here. I'm Craig Elsten. Braden Suprenant alongside in our Odyssey studios overlooking Murphy Canyon. We're together for 4 hours. Once again, live local San Diego Sports Talk Radio, taking you into the holidays, dressed in her winter best. Annie Heilbrunn, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you guys?
You're looking warm.
Did it snow in Alpine?
Yeah. It's cold. It is cold. It's like
it was nasty fog.
Cold.
Last
It's
night.
supposed to be 80 degrees the next 2 days
Really?
in East County, 78 or something. So
it was cold this morning, I will admit. I was heavy coat and locals winter scarf on the neck this morning walking the pod.
So I'll keep this on probably maybe a segment or two, and then the jacket because it gets pretty warm in here.
Sometimes.
It's not
Well, or it gets cold in
Or
here.
it's frigid.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, in fact, the status of this studio is one of constant change. And yesterday we had our busiest broadcast day, and it turned out a day of violence inside the Odyssey studios.
Show's not getting along, apparently.
I'm feeling a little different, to be honest. I'm in this chair that Ben's normally in. It's a taller chair. Doesn't have armrests. I like the armrests, but that chair is broken.
It's broken.
I
wonder if I can.
armrest just gone, destroyed. There it is, left like a decapitated, dude with his head on the pike outside the ramparts of the fortress.
What kind of savages do we have on the in Scrabistan?
That's what I'm wondering.
Decapitating chairs.
Because apparently,
Are we going to pay our respects to this chair?
once we crossed the border at 6 o'clock last night, and once we went inside Scrabistan, something happened. Something happened, and the chair is broken.
That must have been a hell of a gripe he had.
In this Game of Thrones, you win or you die. I mean, that chair died.
He was executed
he
for a cause.
He confessed to it, right, Braden? You said he let you guys know.
Oh, yeah.
But not the motive.
No.
He just said that the chair was as if it broke itself.
The text he sent to me, Paul, and Adam was just hilarious. Adam sends like the John Heyman talking about Roki Sasaki video, right?
Yeah.
For us to plan for shows in
Sure.
the future. And Scrapey last night at 9 o'clock at night. 9 o'clock. So he left the station. It was like still
thought about it for a while.
Yeah, he got guilty. He turned himself in. He goes, "So," with a bunch of O's, "I broke the chair at work, period. I was trying to get up and the armrest broke off. I need to tell the engineers." And Adam Klug responds with this emoji. I got out of softball. I was reading this, dying, laughing. Oh, my God.
Scraby.
Took his anger out. That must have been some hell of a gripe he had.
I mean, honestly, I like that chair.
Yeah, that one specifically.
Now I'm in this taller chair. It feels weird. I
No,
feel
you
out
would
of place.
you would like this chair.
You could have this chair.
This would be the chair
This
that
has-
you used to have then,
This
right?
is the normal chair you
I
have.
think-
Or is it that chair?
I think it was that one. Because normally there's a couple over there. Now I don't
Yeah,
know.
but
Everything
Scraby-
got
Yeah, you
mixed
can
up
have this
yesterday.
is the
Scraby
same
produces
one.
his own show,
With
though, so
two
he'd be
armrests.
sitting here. So it would have been this chair.
Hmm.
Unless they do musical chairs in Scrabistan.
Either way, blame Scraby. Understand that when you go inside the borders, whew,
Who knows what'll happen?
That's right. If you make it through the border.
have an escape plan.
Yeah.
I mean, that's my suggestion.
Yeah,
If you ever
exit
go
plan.
inside Scrabistan, make sure you have a concrete way to get out without violence.
Did we get any report or an official statement from our neutral territory?
Well, that's the
of
whole thing, because Sam
Sammy
Levitt was there
That's right.
right after.
Does he do his show in here?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
He was here. So was there a cross-border skirmish between Scrabistan and Sam Zerland? What? Because I figure he's a neutral party. So Sam Zerland. Probably staying out of everything.
Exactly.
Neutral.
Yeah.
Understandable.
Probably tried to help Scraby a little.
Probably
hey,
helpful
let's,
in
let's
some
see if
way.
we can figure out how to get this
Can I
armrest back
fix
on.
the chair? That's the first thing I did. I'm like, does this fit back in? Can I Just fix it.
I hope Scraby comes in with a great story.
Well,
like,
did
make one
you-
up, Scraby, if you don't have a good one.
It would be
I might
even
need to
funnier if we-
rewrite a match game question.
Is it? Do we have video evidence of this? Did this happen during his show?
That's a good question because if so, YouTube would have caught it.
Right, like when it had to have happened during his show, right? Because Sam's right after him. He couldn't be in here.
Was he flailing his arms?
Did he
angry
come
about
back in
Brock
after
Purdy?
Sam's show?
Right. I mean, the
Right.
9 o'clock thing is suspicious.
Yes, he's either super guilty or it happened at 9 o'clock.
Did he stick around? Did he have a gripe with Sam and he just stuck around outside, waiting for Sammy to come
Is
out?
Sam
at 9?
okay? Has anybody heard from Sam?
This is an excellent point. Has anyone even checked on Sam?
Is Sam? Have we seen his Twitter? Has he made a tweet since, or has Scraby hacked Sam's account to make him seem like he's doing okay?
You know,
Is Sam tied up somewhere in the building?
Scraby might need to be on the All-Star Celebrity panel today just for
Oh,
answers.
Yeah?
Just for answers to questions.
It sounds like you got to rewrite some questions.
I think I might. I think I just
An
might.
interrogation.
Suspicious Scraby is so sus. How sus is he?
He is so sus. Well, with that, we begin today's Annie and Elsten. Here's what we got lined up for you today. We got a lot of good stuff lined up for you today. Of course, we'll start with talking about the big things that happened in the world of sports over the course of the last 24 hours since we got together. Too long, didn't hear it. Great for the Aztecs. Great night for the Aztecs.
Sam's last tweet was at 7:58.
Great night for Magoon Guath.
Incredible night for
Yes.
Magoon Guath. And as good as the Aztecs win at Fresno State was, Creighton beating Kansas, chef's kiss.
That was the best.
Absolutely
Yeah.
perfect. Best thing that could possibly have happened to the Aztecs. Oregon won again. As long as the teams that the Aztecs have interacted with in their brief but exciting non-conference continue to rise, the Aztec star continues to rise. So really good stuff there. We'll get into all of that. Signing that just came down in the last half hour could wind up rewriting the rundown as well in some interesting ways. As the Sacramento Athletics, I don't have to abide by their garbage
No.
guidelines.
No,
just the
they
Athletics.
want you to call them the A's. You call them whatever you want.
The Sacramento Athletics have signed their first ever player. They have signed Luis Severino, the right-hander whose 1 year, $13 million deal with the Mets last year I thought was a bit of an overpay. Turned into a good year, had a good solid year for the Mets, got exactly what he wanted, a 3-year contract, but it comes from Sacktown, a 3-year deal, which is supposedly covering the entirety of the Athletics' existence in the capital city of the state of California. So he would be Sacramento's own. Luis Severino, the only ever purely Sacramento player to exist in Major League Baseball. $67 million for Luis Severino over 3 years, over $22 million a year for a reasonable third or fourth starter in Major League Baseball.
It's the largest guarantee in the history of the A's franchise. The largest guaranteed contract that
What
they've
does that
given.
say?
Exactly. And I mean, I think you'll see a lot of people saying he got well over market expectations and what you thought he might go for, right? I wonder if the A's are on the push to need fans to come over and watch them in Vegas. And so they have decided now we will raise our payroll and we will try to form a more competitive team and show fans that we're into it. I don't know. You have to give this guy a lot. You have to give any guy, I feel like, a lot or at least over market value to get them to come play for the Sacramento A's. So, and to play in a minor league ballpark for the next, few years. But who knows? Who knows if he gets traded at some point?
Well, yeah, I heard the boys joking about the yes trade clause instead of the no trade clause, and that's really funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Please trade me. Yeah.
It's in my deal. You need to explore a deal with me
Right.
at every single deadline until you get the job done.
But now the A's are guaranteed to up their payroll, right, by $67 million.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
and-
it's almost doubled it.
Yeah. A
It-
payroll that was like literally $60 million to begin with.
so I mean that knocks it up at 22 or 23 this year, and then the next 3 years as well. So bully for Luis Severino. For the Athletics, franchise. I don't know.
I don't know what that means. I don't think that they're playing in October still. I think Luis Severino will have October off.
Have you ever seen the A's payroll page on Fangraphs?
Oh my God, I should go look at it.
It's hilarious. They don't have any AAV for anybody because they got arbitration players and players not ready for arbitration, so none of their contracts are locked in. They literally have 2 players signed.
Luis Severino and T.J. McFarland.
That accounts for $23 million.
Then you got Brent Rooker. They got 3 more years of control of Brent Rooker.
I mean, that's their
at
silver
$5
lining.
$5
Right.
million.
Can't put that in the AAV yet because you don't know what he's getting. It's just a projection.
Estimated luxury tax payroll with Severino, $78,440,000.
Wow.
$78 million.
$78 million. I mean,
$8 million more than
Shohei Ohtani.
what Otani's thing.
Yeah.
$70 million. Soon to be Juan Soto, $60 million or something like
A's
that.
spend so little that it's like, hey, congratulations. Nice job, guys.
Way to go, kids. Way to go. You know, what it means for the Athletics, who cares? The Athletics are a joke of a franchise run by a twisted dude who I don't have any confidence in. I think he's a charlatan, and it can all be proven wrong. He can find the $1 billion that he owes for his Vegas stadium. You had that story.
Yeah. I mean, he has money.
Butt coolers in the seats and
He just-
the
right. He just
extra
hasn't
video boards.
been putting it into the payroll, and so now that you're going to be needing people to come out there and you're going to get so much heat on you anyways for playing in Sacramento and playing in a minor league stadium for the next few years, maybe we'll see. You'd have to be consistently spending. Maybe this is a reflection of, well, we've got to show fans that we're going to be doing more and entice them to come follow us over to Vegas. If that is the case, though, that's sad because you could have done that in Oakland.
Right. Yeah. Mostly what's going to happen for them, whatever. I'm interested in what's going on with us, right? And where the market is now for pitching.
Yeah. It makes it. I was talking to an agent yesterday. It makes it harder, too, because if you are. Who was the guy the other day? Boyd? Yeah, Matthew Boyd.
Matthew Boyd.
Right. We were talking
2
about
years,
his
$29
contract
million.
and how much he got. And then now you see this one. And it's a double-edged sword because on the one hand, if you're a pitcher, you're sitting at home and you're like, let's go. Like, I thought I was going to get this. I might be getting $5 million more a year or $10 million more a year. Who knows, But if you're an agent, you're sitting there going, they way overpaid. And now my guy's going to be thinking that this is the going rate. And not every team might be willing to overpay. So I'm still like, what's it going to do? How's it going to fall out? And there's so much waiting. We were talking about just how much waiting has to go on now before anything starts happening. And he was saying until April 1st, you don't know what anything is going to be. So, and April 1st, that is so far away. And even then he was like, April 1st, you could still be doing some deals or have some deals in the works. So we'll know a lot more before then, I'm sure. But it just kind of goes to tell you that there is a long way to go and how the cards fall. I mean, is anybody's guess. I think the market just understandably will be higher like you do. I think you see these prices and you don't think that it's going to really get much lower for anybody. But if you follow, Jeff Passan's reporting, he's saying once the verdict for Juan Soto, the Juan Soto sweepstakes drops, he predicts December to be the busiest signing and trade, in baseball in a long time, period.
I'll be stunned if we sign one player.
Well, that's the thing. I'm like, okay, well, is that for every team? Is that for all teams? We'll believe it when we see it. My understanding with Preller and Co. is don't call them, they will call you. Don't call them with like, hey, I've got this guy. I'm ready to go. What are you looking for? I've got this dude, this dude, this dude. When they need somebody, they're going to let you know. And then that is when, you're in business and you can probably get some decent returns.
Our boss brought this up right before we walked in, and I'm sure we would have gotten there just thinking about it too, but I'm going to give you the tip of the cap because 100% this is what we need to be talking about, and after this timeout, we're going to talk about it. The way A.J. Preller has found his current pitching staff has been by making canny trades and getting guys before they get paid. Mm-hmm. The Padres have 2 players who are going to get paid less than Luis Severino this year, almost combined, not, but almost, that are both 1.5 to twice as good as Luis Severino. And the Padres have exactly 1 year of control on each of those guys. It's telling me there's no universe. None. Not even that one that Doctor Strange had in the Avengers movie. There's no universe where the Padres are going to have Dylan Cease and Michael King beyond 2025. If Luis Severino is $23 million a year, what the heck is Michael King coming off of another good year, or Dylan Cease coming off another good year? So what can the Padres do? What can they possibly do to keep up in this new world? Let's talk about that more on the other side of the break, because we're overdue for it. 10:16 is the time. Annie and Elsten underway. We are rolling. Set up the rest of the show, too, when we come back on 97.3 The Fan. All right, here's what's coming up on today's show. Got some really interesting discussion topics to chew upon, including the one that we're currently gnawing on like a bone, which is where the heck this baseball free agent pitching market is going and how you can possibly survive within it if you're going to have a budget. We're trying to figure that part out. We'll continue to do that. At 11, we punted yesterday our final Padres performance review, right field, with one of our key adjudicators not in the room. How can you have the review if you don't have both of the supervisors?
For Tatis.
Wow.
Okay.
I mean,
Right.
didn't want you to miss the show.
Right.
So we'll do right field. We'll discuss Fernando Tatis' season and what's going on with his immediate future, along with whatever other options are in the system coming up at 11 o'clock. 11:35, really excited about this. We talked about it a little bit yesterday, but we're going to have on, once again, Will Carroll, who writes the great injury Substack, Under the Knife. You can find it undertheknife.substack.com. He put out a story yesterday that it's one of those ones that if you let it, it bends your mind. Bless you, Braden. That just bends your mind. Talking about how somebody has figured out a way to use essentially a computerized tourniquet, not all the way constricting all blood flow, but constricting a little blood flow at a little time at this exact spot to this exact point, that can be used as an actual performance enhancer for baseball pitchers, and a way that can actually build their strength and their ability to throw hard without taxing their arm. It's weird. Will's going to come on and talk to us about it at 11:35, and I think it's one of these things that you don't know. 2 years from now, this could completely disappear, or Paul Skeens could be throwing 110 miles an hour.
Or if anyone's got it, I hate to say it, it's probably going to be that team up north because it costs so much and you have to have specialized people running it. They already have that other very cool pitching setup machine that their reporters talk about.
Oh, the one that duplicates any pitch, any wind
I'm
up.
sure they're not the only team with it, but
No,
I don't think
but
every team has it, right?
Yeah, it's fancy.
It's fancy.
Whatever.
It's
They got
custom.
everything.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah.
Whatever.
Anyways,
They
it's
got
cool. It's cool to
everything.
hear. Look, if you're an athlete, you're always trying to find an edge.
Yeah.
And you hear things about the hyperbaric chambers or the nodes that you Darvish wears. There's all kinds of things now that you do to try to get your arm to have better recovery or better longevity or better speed. I mean, so if this is on the market, there's people looking at it.
So, yeah, we'll get a lot more information from Will coming up at 11:35. Look forward to chatting with him. 12 o'clock Sports Fix, of course, at the middle of the show. In our recurring 12:20 How College Sports is Sort of Broke segment, how about players, 18-year-old kids drafted in the first round, turning down major league money to get college money? It's actually happening.
I mean, it's not that surprising.
Yeah.
If you're going to get paid the same, you're going to stay in nicer hotels. You're going to have nicer travel. You're going to have a bunch of nice things in college. And in the minor leagues, you're staying in not nice hotels and taking bus rides and all this other stuff. It's like, why not go to college where you're going to be great competition and you're playing in packed stadiums and you're on TV and it sounds like a better deal to me to go play college baseball than
specifically
to
play
minor
the
leagues.
SEC,
I mean, that's the thing. Yeah,
and
like,
the ACC. I mean, we go to a
baseball
lot
is
of
kinda-
places with USD that's like West Coast is different because the West Coast doesn't support college athletics as much as the other parts of the country. But some of those other places you go, it's like, this is way more fun than a minor league game. This is crazy.
Makes sense. So we'll talk about that more in the 12 o'clock hour. We are playing the match game today. All-star celebrity panel to be convened at 12:40. If we can find the chair breaker, we will bring him in as well. We have questions for Scraby. So
He's going to have to use that chair.
Of course. Every day until it's fit.
Yeah, make sure Greg doesn't use that chair.
I know what he can give the corporation for Christmas.
That's right.
Yeah.
Odyssey just sent a note, Matt. They've given you their Christmas wish list. It's a new chair.
He's going to be at the Christmas party, and they're going to be like, only one plate of food for you.
Yeah,
only one.
Do you have the chair? Did you get us the chair? Oh, man, I thought we dropped you enough hints that we wanted a new chair for the one you broke.
Well, Scott in the chat says this chair broke live on the air during Tony and Chris's show while he was sitting in it.
So it was on Gwen and Chris.
So that tells me that he waited hours to.
Yeah, he said it because he said it at 9.
Yeah, he waited hours to come clean.
What time do we think? Scott?
Yeah, can we find it?
I can probably find it.
Help
us
out, good job.
Sleuths.
They post clips of their show. What
Right.
happened to that one, Screaming?
That should
Where's
be
that clip?
that should be in the open. To be honest, that's pretty. And Matt.
If I get a relative time,
you
I can
broke
go
the chair, dummy.
I can go find it.
We'll figure that one out. Okay, back to Luis Severino signs with the A's. It's not necessarily that. It's just where the numbers are now. Matthew Boyd was out. He pitched like a few starts after coming back at the end of the year from Tommy John surgery. Yeah. He did okay in the playoffs for like 3 starts or whatever. He gets $15 million a year. Okay, well, there's a baseline. That's a guy who has a career ERA of close to 5, like 4.85. There's a baseline, $15 million a year. Nick Martinez had another, solid year with the Reds. No one's lighting their hair on fire for Nick Martinez's season in Cincinnati. It was good. It was okay. It was fine. $21 million. He gets the qualifying offer. He takes 21. That should have been the canary in the coal mine for us. That if Nick Martinez is taking $21 million, at the time I was like, oh, he's taking like $7 or $8 million more than he would get on the market. Nope. He'd probably have gotten more on the market because if Luis Severino, who was not as good as Michael King, he was, again, good. 182 innings, 31 starts. That's good. That's 6 innings a start. That's really solid. You want that. ERA of almost 4, 3.91. WHIP, 1.24. Not amazing, but good. But Michael King was better on every number. He pitched, 9 fewer innings, 173 innings. He was converting from a reliever. He wasn't even stretched out till the middle of the season. He got to 173 innings. He struck out more batters than Severino with a lower WHIP, with a significantly lower ERA, almost a run lower. King than Severino. We won 2 more games. Had a significantly more WAR, 4.2 to 1.6. And that's baseball reference WAR. So my point is, we got Michael King, right, as a reliever, made him a starter, and got what now I would say would be, $30 million of value from him for the year? And how are we possibly going to be able to pay King or Cease going forward? Where is the salary slot to keep these guys?
That's going to be the big question. And will they even keep them long enough to try? Will they try to trade one of them? Or I don't think both, but would one of them be traded to avoid maybe what happened with Blake Snell the first time, or not getting anything back for a guy that's probably going to walk anyways, that you're not going to be able to afford, that you're not going to be able to keep. So that's going to be what's interesting to watch. Depends obviously on where the Padres are too at the deadline. They're both. No, I think Michael King has 2 years, right?
Just one more.
He's got one more.
He's got one more.
He, like Cease, is a free agent at the end of the year.
Yeah, so this is going to be a big storyline to follow. Again, it depends on where they are at the trade deadline. And we saw with the Padres, they typically don't do that. They held on to guys instead of trading them at the deadline and trying to get something in return. So we'll see if that kind of breaks the pattern a little bit, and it probably depends on their record as well. But right, I mean, like the ceiling is getting higher and higher for pitching, and if you're Corbin Burns, you're looking at that going, okay, what's my contract going to be? If you're Tanner Scott, you're looking at getting a major contract. But even if you're an average pitcher, if you're a solid average pitcher, you're going to get a decent amount of money, at least in this market. But I think the question is going to be is how many teams will be willing to pay for that? Because I do think you're going to get teams that are going to say, we don't have the money. We've got to look other places. We've got to give this guy a shot over here. I wonder how many guys might go untaken, right? Whether it's position players or pitchers, just based on the whole, hey, we don't know what's coming around the bend with the CBA, with the TV contracts, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm still really wondering how this market is going to play out when all is said and done.
I can't.
Yeah, Max Fried, Adam said in the chat, right. That's going to be huge.
Reset. Let me come at it a different way. Last winter, A.J. Preller was able to reshape his roster while cutting payroll. The way he was able to do it was to take an asset that certainly is unique in the market. There's no question Juan Soto's a unique asset in the market. But an asset with 1 year of control remaining and move it for multiple pieces, including multiple arms that had multiple years of control remaining. In the case of Randy Vasquez and Johnny Brito, that control continues for years.
And that's always been big for him. Always trying to get that control, try to keep some consistency with the team and get some value there.
Right. For King, it was 2 years. But still, it was 2 years.
Yeah.
And you've used a year, and it was an incredible year. He finished in the top 10 starters in all of Major League Baseball.
Converted the guy from a reliever to a starter.
Correct. Now, this winter, if this is where the pitching market is, and clearly this is where the pitching market is, if Blake Snell is worth well over $30 million a year, and honestly, a mid-rotation starter like Luis Severino, not a spring chicken, right? He's about to be 31. So, again, in his 30s. If this is a $23 million a year asset, then we know that Michael King, who will not be paid $23 million, he's coming off of 7 going into arbitration, so he might get to 13, something like that. But we know King is worth way more than that, way more than $23 million. Cease, who will get paid around probably $18 million this year.
And who you got to think is not, he's a Boris guy. He's going to get to free agency. I highly doubt he's going to sign with the Padres unless they come with a deal that is very valuable to him and his agent.
Right. So Cease is worth way more than the $18 million or so that the Padres will need to pay him this year. So if all of this is the case, and it is also the case, which we don't know for sure, that the Padres are not gonna break the bank, right? Important context. San Diego, according to Fangraphs, is already on their tax line right now at $241 million. So when we say, hey, we want you to spend over the tax line, that doesn't give them the wherewithal to do anything. 18 more million dollars? That's not even a Severino. That's not even one Severino on the market.
I think it's so dependent, though, on the timing, on the year, on the market. I mean, Adam in the chat, Klug, says Cease finished 4th in Cy Young voting. Well, Blake won the Cy Young last year and couldn't get the contract he wanted, right? Got it this year. But sure, Michael Wacha, 33 years old, got $17 million a year. Yeah, I mean, that tells you this year it is high. I think you also look at the A's, who you would never expect them to spend $67 million on a pitcher. But they did it this year. So what we don't know with the Padres is, do they have a longer term plan? Would they be internally saying, well, we're not going to spend a lot of money this year. We're going to try to reserve it, squirrel something to try to keep someone next year. What kind of year do Cease and King have? Will it up their value or lower their value or keep their value the same? Like, I think there's so many intangibles there. As it looks like now, I have a hard time seeing both of them stay. maybe King, but I have a hard time seeing King stay. I think he will be priced out based on the needs of the Padres. But it also begs the question, who do they have in their farm system coming up? Right.
We traded them all.
Right. Who do you have on the fringes that you feel like you can turn into something that is really legit?
Matt
I mean,
Waldron.
I think a lot of guys will try to get a big contract next year because of the work stoppage and the new CBA. How do they know what's going to happen after
Sure.
that gets signed? You're going to want to try to get that locked up if you can before
Both
that
those guys.
hits.
That's a great point.
Exactly. And then the other thing with the Padres that we don't know, which is still a mystery, is Eric Katsenda is the interim control person. They will develop the budget for this year. Whoever takes over, I don't see it changing a whole lot because whoever's going to come in is going to probably do what has normally been done, unless there are some, big windfalls to the Padres or something that we don't know about, right? But that is also going to shape, what does this look like going forward? You're going to have a new person making the decision or being part of the decision of how much money they're going to spend come spring training. I don't think it's going to affect necessarily this offseason, but it will start to affect future off seasons.
And the point, and now we can take a break and we can talk about it more as on the other end. In this market, understanding whatever market pressures we have and the reality of the Padres payroll situation, I'm starting to think trading one of King or Cease, not both, but one of those two pitchers this winter, maybe this week, really makes sense. Like it doesn't, it's beyond the, we're cheap and we have to cut payroll and so no, actually makes sense in a way to move the good ship Padres forward for 2025 and beyond. Let's explore that on the other side. 1037, it's Sandy and Elsten on the Fan. So look, it's an unsavory business to talk about it. It'd be way easier to just have an ownership group valued at $338 billion, like the Guggenheim partners.
Again, and again, you look at what Eric Grupner and Eric Kutsenda did tell media at spring training, and what we've seen in reports throughout, from whether it's The Athletic, the Union Tribune, that the Padres are committed going forward to fielding a team that is, quote, more balanced. You heard the word responsible last time AJ Preller talked to the media. It's a balanced team to them is utilizing more low-cost guys from the farm system, which if they don't have those, I would imagine it's utilizing more flyers, like more low-cost guys that you're hoping are a diamond in the rough that, you're going to hit gold on, which they did do quite a bit last year. But that, if you take them at their word on that, which seems to be the direction they're going, then you're looking at maybe a big splash here and there, but also needing to balance that out with the lower cost guys who we don't see in the farm system necessarily right now, but who might be 2 years maybe away, 2 years, 3 years away.
Our farm system's empty.
They traded, yeah. And AJ Preller does do a good job of replenishing that, but that comes with its own cost, right?
Right. We drained the battery last year. We traded 13 of the top 15 prospects in the system. The guys we kept, we know, are a year or so away in DeVries and Salas. And those guys are position players, not pitchers. So, exciting future for the Padres if you keep those two kids. That's great. That's the 2026 and beyond seasons. For 2025, the Padres don't have Joe Musgrove,
right,
the anchor of their rotation. Right. He's out for the whole year, no matter what he says. Trust me, he'll say something in July about how far he is ahead of schedule.
Well, we don't know. He could. We have no idea what his recovery
We better
will be.
not. Tommy John, you don't recover in 10 months from Tommy John.
No, but you recover some in a year.
Yeah, but a year would be the end of October.
Yeah.
That's when he had the surgery, was the end of October.
I mean, the tough part about Joe is I feel like Joe could come back, but you would have to be ready for intense, obviously depending on his recovery, you'd have to be ready for intense pitching, though. It wouldn't be like when, what was his name? Who was the guy that was signed to a 2-year with the Padres?
Clevenger?
No, 2 years. He was signed while he had Tommy John surgery.
With Boston. And I know exactly who you're talking about. Richards?
Oh, Garrett Richards, right? He came back at the end of his first year with the Padres, but it was very low stress.
Yeah.
It was he could get a few innings. It was very important to him to get on the mound, feel what the mound felt like, but it wasn't playoff pitching.
Yeah. So, write off Musgrove for next year. He should not pitch next year. And if he did, come on. Are we what? He's going to turn up on October 31st for Game 6 of the World Series or something? Okay.
That'd be kind of sick.
It'd be pretty sick, actually.
Maybe he's doing
let's speak that into existence.
Yeah. Maybe he's doing the
comes
thing
out
that
of
you
the
talked about.
The blood flow
That's
restriction.
right,
Yeah, maybe he's doing
comes
that.
out of the bullpen.
Maybe Joe or someone in Joe's family is going to hear that segment in an hour, and it'll change the course of Padres history. I don't know. Maybe.
Happy birthday to Joe. It was his birthday yesterday.
That's awesome.
Not announcing a starter. Game 6 of the World Series can clinch it at home, and then all of a sudden you hear Joe Musgrove's music.
Yeah.
Right?
It's like
he
a
comes
WWE
out of the
event.
mist.
That's right.
So on the surface, it seems ridiculous to try and trade Dylan Cease or Michael King because those are your 1-2 starters with you, Darvish, for next year. That's the top 3 on your rotation.
To solve a problem, do you make more of a problem? This is
right.
what as we've talked about, this year is harder for AJ Preller because last year he had the biggest chip on the market. He had Juan Soto who could get him back all these wonderful things. This year you don't have that, but you do have guys who might be able to get you some more pieces if you are in that position where that's like the role that you need to take, the road that you need to take.
Well, all of this information coming in, including the Severino data today of 3 years, $67 million, tells me that AJ does have something valuable he can trade. He does have something close to top of market. Not Juan Soto. No one is Juan Soto. But something close, and that's King or Cease. Either one of those guys is going to fetch you something really pretty because they are going to be pitching at no better than half of their market value next year.
Right, and I get that. But then where does that leave your rotation?
Right.
Now you have a problem with your rotation. But maybe you it's like whack-a-mole. You solve some problems over here. Now you got a problem over here. But then again, that's kind of where you look at, okay, is there is there a domino effect here? If they get Roki Sasaki, are you more willing to trade a Cease or a King, right? It's like something like that, right? Like if you're able to replenish it somehow, can you let go of one of these guys?
Well, you could not without getting a young arm back.
Yeah.
You couldn't unless you got a young arm that costs very little with all the years of control back. Or a scenario a la what they did, getting a guy that you're converting into something that's got 2 years of control but is not market valued because he hasn't been a starter yet. A project like that, there would have to be pitching coming back. There's no question about it. And probably Sasaki is the trump card in all of it. If you're adding a brand new rookie starter to your rotation that with no cost attached to it whatsoever, that is obviously added depth. Because, listen, Matt Waldron's in the rotation next year for the Padres. He's in, and there's no reason why we shouldn't be at least reasonably excited for him to be in. You need to hope that he grows. And that
they have
he
a catcher that can
they gotta
get him pretty well.
They got to find someone to catch him.
Catch that knuckler.
It ain't Campy. We know that for dang sure. So, yes, but like he's in. Vasquez / Brito.
Yeah, they're in.
One of those guys could be in. And that's 5 spots right there. If you add Sasaki, you could move a player.
But you need depth still. You need depth. I mean, last year you had depth in there with Vasquez and Brito and Waldron even.
Yeah.
And when guys went down, you were able to kind of move them in. You're already up against it with what you have. So you're going to need to get some either low-cost guys or guys you're going to take a flyer on, or you're going to have some depth somewhere for that rotation.
I just can't keep pointing to the pieces on the board often enough that if we are not going over the tax, if that is actually true, the Padres can't do anything. They can't sign a left fielder. They have to actually cut salary.
Unless they move someone. Right.
They have to cut salary in order to do anything. Otherwise, Lockridge and Ornelas are the left fielders, and it's done. Everything is done. It's only the players that are here right now today, because with all the raises that are going to all the players on the team, they would literally not be able to afford to do anything. Scott gone, Profar gone, everyone gone. Nothing but rookies and minimum salary players, the $1 million deals. Again, that every single one will compare to Profar.
Listen, I mean, it's so easy to sit here and be like, well, do this, do that with the rotation. You need a good starting rotation. It is the backbone of your team. You need good pitching. And if you don't have that throughout, I mean, look, the Dodgers did not have, they had a mishmash of starting pitching, but they all pretty much got it done when they needed it to, right? You know what I mean? They wasn't the rotation that they wanted, but they were able to piece it together. And the Padres have to try to do the same thing. You obviously have to hit, and we saw with the Padres in the playoffs, you need to be able to score runs. But you need good pitching, too, if you're going to get to the playoffs, and you're not going to be, one of the teams left on the outside once October hits.
It's complicated, and it sounds like something that would have to be bold and creative. But those are the things that we assign as the character traits of A.J. Preller, that he's bold, that he's creative, he's looking for creative solutions. I believe, looking at the market, that putting aside that Roki Sasaki is the golden goose that every team covets and that would fundamentally change the 2020s for the Padres if he comes. If putting that aside, a creative move that moves Dylan Cease, the more expensive of the two, the slightly less reliable of the two, the guy that kind of showed you in the playoffs, nothing you really liked to see. To be honest with you, nothing that you really like to see from his playoff starts. Way too small a sample to really make a call, but
he was a workhorse for them.
He was, so that's going to be so appealing.
He is. It is, but you're also losing a workhorse and a staff and a rotation that is going to be. I mean, you're banking on Yu Darvish to be healthy the whole year, and those younger guys to be able to get through the whole year, or some depth to patch it up. I'm with you. He's an appealing piece. He's going to most likely 99.9% walk at the end of the year. The Padres aren't going to be able to keep him, right? So unless there's some kind of squirreling away for him that we don't, is going to mean that they're doing something else this year that is like less lucrative for them, because they're trying to keep Dylan Cease or something. But he's a Boras client. He's going to probably test free agency. He's probably going to get a good deal of money. So you do think, well, but he's the other part of this, and I'm going back and forth on it, is because he'll be in a walk year. And we know what pitchers what pitchers do in a walk year, right? And for the Padres, who are going to need to have that strength for them, he's very appealing to stay with the team and help them get to the playoffs and go beyond.
And if we hadn't made the Tanner Scott, Jason Adam trades at the deadline, then whether or not you were still confident about those young pitchers, you would have had an obvious line of succession. Keep Cease, keep King, get their final year, give them both qualifying offers. They both walk. You get 2 first-round draft picks coming back, and then you've got Robbie Snelling coming up. You've got Adam Major coming up. You've got Dylan Lesko coming up. Here are the young starters that will now fill those spots. We already know who's coming up, and that's how we're going to let these 2 guys go. We traded all those guys. They're all gone, and there's nobody behind them right now anywhere near the big leagues.
And trading Arise is a possibility, but remember how other teams value Luis Arise is very fluctuating. It fluctuates a lot. So while the Padres can look at it, fans or us or whoever can be like, well, he's going to get back a lot. He's Luis Arise, he's batting champion, 3-time batting champion. Another team might look at him and be like, wait, where's the defense? Where's the home runs? What else does he do?
Where's the speed? Where's the walks?
And we've seen that with his trades. Like it's not always a sure thing that you're going to get a bounty back for him.
Well, something's going to happen, or the Padres are going to change their tune.
Or Vasquez is another. Robert Suarez. Sorry, not Vasquez.
Suarez, yeah. No,
Robert
he's a
Suarez
guy you could
could
trade.
be someone as well.
You
I don't
absolutely
like it,
could trade him.
but he could be there.
But you can't be precious about holding on to this team and then also finger wave the Padres and say you got to go improve it, because spending $20 more million out of the cap, that's not even a Severino anymore. Let's take a break. We're back with hour number 2 next. Baseball coverage on 97.3 The Fans presented by T-Mobile. Head to T-Mobile.com and get a great deal on an iPhone 16 Pro. Hour number 2 of Annie and Elsten here with you. Annie Halbern, Craig Elsten, Braden Soprenet in our Odyssey studios. Bottom of the hour, we'll be checking in with Will Carroll from the Under the Knife Substack and find out about the new wacky thing that, who knows, could lead to a pitcher throwing 110 miles an hour soon.
I mean, isn't it crazy that we're seeing speeds of, what was it last year? We saw like 102, 103.
104, 105.
104, 105, yeah.
I think Ben Joyce of the Angels was like 104.8.
Right.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Mason Miller is like 102, 103 every pitch almost. Yeah, you've got guys who just sit. Suarez, 98, 99, 100, 101, right?
Is it that inconceivable to think they could hit 108, 109, 110? I mean, it's hard to believe, but it's possible, I guess.
Yeah, what's the upper threshold? We thought Chapman had the top at 105. Is 110 physically, humanly possible?
I know.
We thought maybe no, but maybe a sports medicine breakthrough says yes. We'll talk to Will Carroll about that at the bottom of the hour.
How much will that guy get?
Right. Could you imagine?
That'd be like the first $1 billion contract.
Hold me with all of the what's the word, proprietary technology and whatnot.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Needs to be like, listen, MLB, here's my deal. I get 1% of all pitcher contracts going forward.
And you'd almost have to build in an injury clause because you're throwing 110.
Yeah.
How long does all that proprietary technology help you out? And then when does your arm just say, we're
just
done?
Fly away. Yeah, I don't know. But I think
it'll be fun to talk about.
Yeah, we'll chat with him about it. Right now, we're going to close out what's been a, pretty much weekly series since the end of the season, which is our Padres performance review, looking back at the key players and key elements of the Padres organization from the 2024 season. We started all the way at the beginning of this process with Eric Kutsenda and Eric Grupner. We went from there to Mike Schilt and the coaching staff. We went from there position by position, starting on the infield, and now we've worked our way from left to center field, and we close with right field. And, of course, right field is the province of one Fernando Tatis Jr., who was not the exclusive right fielder for the San Diego Padres in 2024. That certainly bears notice, but also is, of course, their primary right fielder going forward. So, at least certainly in this segment, let's talk Tati. Let's talk about Fernando Tatis Jr. And Braden, we've put his Baseball Savant page right there in the 11 a.m. in the rundown, which we can use as kind of a graphical look, because in a lot of ways, Annie, in a lot of ways, not all of ways, but in a lot of ways, Fernando Tatis Jr. was back in 2024 a lot more than he was in 2023.
He really was. He was crushing fastballs, sliders. He was back to being the guy that had the exit velocity that we've seen in the past. I remember a graphic being put up early in the season that showed that those numbers were lower post suspension than they were pre, but that was only like a month into the season. By the time the season ended, I really believe it's fair to say that he is back to being the guy that he was. He's shown that he's still got that speed. He's still got that power. He's still got that eye for the baseball smarts that he has on the bases as well. And then what he does in right field now is just a given. I mean, he's been great out there defensively. So I think you're looking at a player that is who they envision him to be before the suspension even happened for Fernando Tatis Jr. When they gave him his contract, this is who they envisioned Fernando Tatis Jr. to be. And this was 1 year post that surgery that he had. There was few surgeries that he had after the suspension. So with more time and him being able to really tweak the offseason the way that he wants to, I just see this guy being able to improve. I don't at all look at Fernando Tatis Jr. and I'm like, what you see is what you get. This is it. This is all he's going to be. He's still, 25, I believe?
He's 25 years old.
25. He'll be 26 in January. He still has room to develop and grow and get even better. And I believe that he's on that way. He's on the way for that.
I'm glad you mentioned exit velocity. That's one of the sliders that we're showing on Baseball Savant's page that I really focus on, because it's one of the things that executives and scouts focus on. And last year, Fernando Tatis Jr.'s average exit velocity was 93.5 miles per hour. That's the 97th percentile in baseball. I just went back and looked at his previous years. 2021, when he hit 42 homers, 93.9. So
pre and post suspension, you're looking at the same numbers there.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
That's important.
Yeah, the only time he hit higher was in 2020, which was a short season and doesn't count.
Yeah.
And so the numbers were way too short, so they don't count.
Now, he's still, and I'm sure you would agree, he still has places to work, right? Striking out.
Absolutely.
Maybe taking his walks when he needs to. But I think you're pretty pleased with seeing him at least revert back to, or even get better, a smarter player than what he was pre-suspension.
Well, what we saw from Fernando when you break down his numbers last year is you really had two different seasons for Tatis.
Yeah.
You had pre-leg injury and you had post-leg injury.
That's another thing, though. He didn't even think he was going to come back. I mean, when we were able to talk to him after he returned, he thought he was going to be out for the rest of the season because that leg injury was so bad.
Yes.
And he played on it for quite a while before realizing that they could no longer play on it,
Yeah, he was probably a month away from actually having that break and be out and maybe affect the rest of his career.
But I wonder how much it did affect him without him kind of even knowing it early on.
Absolutely. Well, when you look at pre-leg injury, Fernando really showed a lot of advancements at the plate. 279 batting average, but the on-base percentage nice and high at 354. Slugging percentage got back closer to 500. Not over, but closer to 500 at 468. Hit 14 homers in 80 games. 14 doubles, had 8 steals, but was a little bit diminished in terms of his speed. And, of course, that was a progressive situation, Annie, because that leg got worse and worse about starting in May and going all the way through till he shut down.
Yeah, and remember, they thought it was something else before they realized what it actually was, which was that stress reaction.
Yeah.
So he still pushed through, and he would do, rehab after games or before games, and thinking that, okay, well, they've kind of figured it out, and he just has to, do a pain tolerance thing. Once they realized it was a stress reaction, it's almost crazy to think back and see how much he did with the stress reaction in his body already, in his leg already. So yeah, his speed wasn't what we normally see it to be.
And that's reflected if you're looking at, if you're watching us on YouTube and you're looking at his Savant page, in his range outs above average, which just cratered last year. In 2023, he was about the best in baseball in terms of his outs above average. There it is, 94th percentile. And then you go to 2024, and that kicks all the way down to a negative number, and actually a below average number. So that is a clear sign that he was affected by the injury in the field. However, what doesn't change for Fernando is once he gets to the ball, he's got just about the strongest arm in all of Major League Baseball, one of the most accurate arms in Major League Baseball. So I look at that and don't see anything other than he was injured, he comes back, that number shoots right back to where it should be.
Yeah, I agree with that. And hopefully for him, he's keying in on these off seasons, and I haven't heard anything about him playing in the Dominican League or playing with his dad, and maybe that will come out later, I'm not sure. But what he's doing now and what he's doing in these off seasons, especially as he gets a little older, is going to be very important for him, how he's taking care of his body. It means a lot to him to be able to stay on the field. I don't think he could have done much about the stress reaction. That's a fluke thing. I don't think that was something that he did to himself by any means. But certainly he wanted to come back and contribute, and he's going to want next year to post as much and as often as he can.
Now, when Fernando came back from his injury, and remember, he missed all of July and August. He came back just about a day after Labor Day, as I remember.
It's crazy to think about.
Yeah.
He missed quite a bit of time.
He really did. I mean, he was held to 102 games for the season. So, that really tells you. But when he did come back, he came back with all the power. He hit 7 of his 21 homers in just 20 starts after coming back after All-Star break. His slugging percentage jumped to 578 once he came back. And then, of course, in the postseason, until the final 2 games, he was far and away the best, most dangerous hitter in MLB's postseason.
I mean, that was fun to watch, and I hate thinking about it because I know it's so hard to think about. But if the Padres would have been able to continue on, that Fernando was your most consistent guy. I mean, he was the guy that always shines in those moments, And that's been the way he's been in the postseason. And that's where you want, when you sign these guys to big, huge contracts, yes, you want to get a good regular season out of them. But that's where you really need to step up in the postseason. Obviously, you have to get there. There's nothing you can do if you don't get there. So you need to have good seasons from all your players or most of your players at certain points to get to the postseason. But when you're in the postseason, this is what a lot of that money goes for, right? It's like to see you shine. And some of it is random. Some of it is different pitching, different pressure. Can't hold it always against a guy. But it's fun to watch Fernando in that element because he seems to just absorb that moment so well.
In his lifetime now, in 13 playoff games, he has a 1,328 OPS. He's been one of the most dominant players in all of Major League Baseball. So
you want to see him in the playoffs more.
Absolutely. Yeah. In summation, when I look at the 2024 for Fernando Tatis Jr., previous years, we have been concerned about Fernando's injuries in a different light. He hurt himself in a motorcycle accident. That led to a wrist injury, which was not rehabilitated properly, which led to a second surgical procedure, right? Then you had the shoulder issue and 2021 and the shoulder coming out like 6 different times during the season. You had the suspension, of course, that wiped out most of 2022. All of these things hung as clouds over Fernando Tatis Jr. And people will still say, the Tatty, I don't want to say haters, but dislikers or whatever, critics, would still say, hey, another year, what are you talking about? He was held to 102 games. Another year where Fernando Tatis Jr. couldn't stay on the field. But a stress reaction in your femur isn't like, oh, well, yeah, about that guy. Once he got the stress reaction in his femur, every year he had it. Like, it's not some chronic thing like he hurt his back. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, you can look at some players and go, yeah, when they hurt their back, they were never the same. That's not the case for Fernando Tatis Jr. There's no reason, as Annie said earlier, not to think that the next 5 years of his career, age 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, aren't going to be the 5 best years of Fernando Tatis Jr.'s career.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, he feels like he's 30 years old, right? Because he's just kind of been through so much already, and there's been so much off the field with him, and he's been really, for Padres fans of this generational, kind of last 10 years, whatever. I mean, it was Fernando coming up to the majors. That was such a significant milestone in what this organization could be and what the hopes were for fans. His home runs, yes, down. So some of that is due to he just wasn't on the field as much, right? But I also think that there's so many other intangibles sometimes that goes along with that in terms of where he could be. Stolen bases. I think that is a measure of him having that hurt leg.
100%.
You don't want to test that when your leg is this far away from being broken and your whole entire season is over.
Yeah, one of these years he's going to randomly steal 50 bases. And it'll be that year that he turns up at spring and he says, you know what? I saw what Ohtani did and I want to do it too. And if there's any player in baseball that could decide to go 50-50, Acuna's one, and Tatis is another guy who could do it. Now, he probably doesn't want to put that type of pounding on his legs. Maybe he'd have to be a DH like Ohtani was to be willing to steal 50 bases, which we don't expect anytime soon. So maybe he won't do it. The point is, we can still dream about what the everything comes together season for Fernando Tatis Jr. could be. And I'm really glad to do this, actually, Annie, on the heels of our conversation last hour, because for Padre fans who want to just sit in Doomerville the whole winter and into the spring and sublet their apartment there, remember, the thing that you can hold on to as a Padre fan, you've got this guy. You've got Tatis at a deal that is wonderful. He's getting paid $20 million this year for what he creates. That's a bargain. When it goes up to $36 million in a few years, based on where salaries are going, that'll be a bargain as well. When he's at his peak getting paid no more than 2/3 of what Juan Soto gets, and he's a more complete player than Soto is, that is a great thing. Manny being around is a great thing. Merrill being around is a great thing. The Padres do have this core. Yeah, you spent for this core. It's put you up to the line. The core does make you competitive every year. And we're just talking about how to build the edges around it that turn it from competitive into playoff and potential champion.
Yeah, it's a really good point. I think that's the point that they look at a lot, right? I mean, that's even if you look at, well, so much money was only spent this time and this time. And I agree, you've still got to build around the edges and get those margins to be more competitive. You got to look at it also as kind of like they invested in this next however many years that these guys are part of this team, which is a long time, right? So for Fernando, he's still young and he's hungry. I mean, this is a kid who especially looks at Jackson Merrill. The two of them look at each other, BFFs, and they're going to push each other. You know, not to mention the Mannies and the Xanders and the Jakes and et cetera, et cetera. But for Fernando, that chip is on his shoulder. He very much wants to show that no. This is the same kid that everybody bet on when they gave him the contract, the suspension, a rusty part of his legacy, his career. It's not a part that is beautiful and shining, but it doesn't end his career. It doesn't mean that it's over. It means that he's going to work harder to go out there and show that he's still the player that Major League Baseball once thought he was when they made him the face of baseball.
Right.
So I think there's a lot going for Fernando there. He has to do his part in the off seasons and during the years as he gets older and understands his body more. He has to do his part to make sure he's putting himself in the best possible position. And I think that that's really where he grew out of that suspension and out of those injuries, is figuring out, okay, I got to play this for the long haul.
Right. And yeah, my bottom line, kind of wrapping up this part of the discussion, is after 2022 and then after 2023, where the numbers were okay, but a little bit pedestrian, a little bit down, power seemed reduced, there was an open discussion out there of what were the first 3 years of his career, were those the outlier?
Yeah.
Right? Was he never going to approach that level? I think what 2024 should have shown you, if you're really paying attention to the Padres, is that Fernando Tatis Jr. does have that MVP level still in there and needs to be out in the public for everyone to see over the course of the next 5 years. He needs to be the guy who carries this team going forward as their prime of career, youngest, heart of his successful era player, other than Merrill, right? I mean, as Manny and Xander age, it needs to be Tatis that increasingly is picking that up and being the guy who does have that MVP level year. And if he has that MVP level year, believe me, the Padres are going to be in the story.
Yeah, and he still wants to be in the All-Star conversations. He wants to be in the MVP conversations. He wants to win. He wants to be part of the postseasons that he missed when he was suspended and had the injuries. So for him, it did mean a lot to him to be part of this last year. And that is where, when you look at that core and you hope to build on what they did last year, hey, you got a taste of it. You got a taste of what this team could be and how you guys can fight back during a season, how you can respond to adversity, and how tough you can be, get into the postseason and hopefully go farther than they did last year. But that's where you want that core to really hold on, and whoever's coming up or coming in to be like, this is what we stand for. And that's what Mike Schultz is trying to build. This is our identity. This is our culture. We expect to be in the postseason, et cetera, et cetera.
Let's take a time out. When we come back, before we get to Will Carroll, just a couple more dots, a couple little notes on our Fernando Tatis performance review. What's the best position for him going forward? What about shortstop? Team needs a shortstop.
They do.
I mean, they really need a shortstop.
He's a good shortstop.
Turns out he is a good
great athlete.
Really good at it. Mm-hmm. Did this whole leaping thing. They made a T-shirt out of it. It was great. We'll talk about that when we come back. Andy and Elsten on The Fan. Annie and Elsten back with you. 11:24 is the time. The Odyssey app lets you jump back to the moments you missed on 97.3 The Fan. So while you're listening to the show, you can see what you missed and click to listen on demand. Missed a guest feature or something crazy that happened from earlier? We got you covered. Download the free Odyssey app, search 97.3 The Fan, and tap earlier today to get started. That Old Spice jingle that just closed the commercial break as I was driving James home from school yesterday. That played, for me, I had only heard it the first time. That was the first time I had heard it. Little chuckle, and he was just like, oh, is that going to be the next jingle? Because he just knows now all the different commercials that we're always kind of like hearing the same one and having the same reaction.
Yeah.
He told me he gets Total Wine and More stuck in his head at night.
I could see that. Sometimes I'll hear them and I'll know, we hear them so often. It's like you know exactly the next word that's come. It's like it's like a song, knowing a song, right?
Yeah, I mean that particular commercial literally is a song. You know, she's singing the whole thing. You're gonna get what you love and love what you find what you love and love what you find. It's great, anyways, jingles. So
Jingles.
good job,
jingle.
Old Spice. Good job, Old Spice. That one's pretty funny. Until I hear it 20 times, then I'll be sick of it. But first 19 times, funny.
Number 20 is the one. I hate this.
God dang it!
Really sets that makes you
number
pull the armrest
number
off
19.
the chair.
Still good.
That's right.
Number 19, little chuckle.
This is so great. Next time. I hate this. Screw you, Old Spice.
Yeah, I don't know if it's exactly 20, but there'll be a tipping point.
I would discourage walking around though and just talking to people like ho 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 ho.
Ho 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 ho.
Don't mutter it under your breath when you're walking through places.
That's going to be Craig on December 20th.
Oh.
He's just going to be like,
just muttering in the corner.
Yeah, I hate this. Guy's got senioritis. Ready for Christmas break.
If I was at a Christmas party that night, that would be what I would be looking like. Just
That's right.
cup of
With your
eggnog in the
your
corner.
spiked
just,
eggnog.
Ho, 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 ho.
Everyone's like, Merry Christmas. You're like, shut up.
That's right.
Come on. It's not fair. I mean, it is fair. I'm the Grinchiest of us, but that doesn't make me actually a Grinch. I put up all of our Christmas stuff the day after Thanksgiving.
No, you wouldn't even let them put it up early for no reason at all, except it was like your rule that you couldn't put it up.
I was on
this
Craig's
day.
side on
Thanksgiving,
that. You can
has
put it up,
its
but
time.
just don't turn it on. Don't turn it on.
Thanksgiving has its time.
I agree.
Halloween has its time. We're in Christmas time now.
I mean, if it was up to Annie, it'd be spooky and Christmas season year round.
That's I
Jack
still drive
Skeleton
by
would be everywhere.
the house that has the skeleton with the Santa hat climbing up to the balcony, and then on the balcony, I finally figured it out. It inflates to a Jack Skellington, so they did the theme.
I like that. All right, tagging and wrapping up our Fernando conversation. We've got Will Carroll coming up in our next segment. Fernando Tatis Jr. came up as a shortstop. He got moved out to the outfield as a way to keep his wrist and his shoulder safe when he was coming back from multiple injuries. That worked out great. His first year in right field, when he wasn't a great hitter, he was a great outfielder, won the Platinum Glove. Since then, it's like, no, Tatis is in right. And it makes sense. He's a great right fielder. He looks great out there. No reason you'd ever have to move him. But you could, because you've got a shortstop in center and you got a shortstop in right, and you got no one at shortstop. So, I mean, either one of these guys could move to short, right?
Yeah, I mean, this is what's going to be the irony of the season is if they go out and get a shortstop.
Right.
Because it's just going to be so much low-hanging fruit for anyone, not just us, national broadcast, whatever, to be like, the team full of shortstops had to go out and get a shortstop. But, look, they might not want to move any of these guys. And if they do, my guess is it will be someone already in the infield, like Xander Bogaerts, or I don't know, maybe getting creative with Jake Cronenworth or something there, unless you're going out and getting someone. It sounds to me like A.J. Preller just does not want to move these outfield guys. There's a good argument for Jackson Merrill. Go put Jackson Merrill there. He's able to field the position well, just as well probably as Fernando could. Any of those guys really could do a serviceable job or a solid job and patch that, maybe with that bridge that they're considering to get to before Leo Dallas DeVries. But I think with injuries, that's my guess, is that with injuries and wanting to keep Fernando on the field as much as possible, there's probably a belief that he is kind of quote unquote safer out there in right field. And he's become a really good right fielder. It's not always an easy position to play.
No.
I mean, he's got a lot of alleyways, especially over there at Petco Park. You've still got a lot of area to cover.
Yeah.
And we've seen him kind of encroach even when Jackson Merrill is maybe a little further out. Like, Fernando's so fast that he is able to get around that outfield at Petco really, really well and into those nooks and crannies over along the right field wall. So I think that there's a lot of reasons, a lot of pros to keeping him there. Personally, I think you could slide him back at shortstop and he would do an excellent job. He'd be great. But I wonder if it's like an injury thing, if it's maybe they're just afraid that it's going to keep him off the field a little longer.
I imagine it is because he's not the type to play the position passively. He would be the type to make as many dives and as many leaps and as many, athletic plays as he possibly could. The one thing I would say about Fernando, the shortstop, is that he made a lot of errors and he made a lot of throwing errors. Yeah. And certainly that's something that he could have just improved upon.
Yeah.
Going from 19-year-old Fernando to 25-year-old Fernando, he might just get more accurate. I think both of these players are staying put, and I think the reason is that this team has already made a decision. And I could be completely wrong, and this cat gets traded next week, okay? I think this team has already made a decision that Leo DeVries is the Padres shortstop at some point around 2026, and then in their minds for 15 years to come. And so why would you move a guy there for a year, and then you have to move him back off the position for a rookie, and now you're dealing with the whole ego thing of moving an all-star or an MVP for a rookie. So just kind of leave it be and let everything sort.
And that's another reason why they wouldn't go out and sign some big free agent shortstop or some big free agent, big contract infielder, because that's the thing. If you're eyeing Leo Dallas DeVries, which is what we all believe, at least for now, we have no reason not to believe that, then they're just bridging the gap. They're figuring out how to hold it together until they get him in and get him to be in that starting role. And I think that you have enough pieces, or maybe you go out and you do need to get an infielder, but it's someone on a 1-year contract or a 1 to 2 year contract that you feel like isn't going to break your bank, but is going to be a valuable addition to the infield. Merrill could do it. Fernando could do it. I think they would be more inclined to move Merrill if they move anyone. But it's hard for me to see either one of those guys moving back to shortstop.
Last thing in this segment, we do have to take a break. I just got to, if we're going to finish right field and kind of close up our performance review, I have to offer a hat tip to David Peralta. Because
Where's David Peralta?
He's a free agent.
Where are you, David?
Please consider
Where's
returning
that
to the Padres.
Choo-chooing
Where
these
art
days?
thou, David?
Yeah.
Wherefore art thou, Peralta? When you look at what David Peralta did last year, 236 at-bats, 0.8 WAR, 750 OPS plus of 109. I'm just looking back at some of his Arizona years and OPS pluses, 106, 108, 108. So 109, he played like he played for the Diamondbacks for the Padres last year at age 36. He had really fallen off the previous 2 years for Tampa and L.A., but he played like he did before. And whether or not the Padres return him, I'd love to see him back as a bench piece. I'd love to see him back on a $1 million deal, and then if he wound up being the starting left fielder at the very beginning of the year, so be it, as we try and sort things out. But point being, Padres wouldn't have gotten where they got without what he did, stepping in for a good solid 2 months and providing a 750 OPS in right field, providing 8 homers, providing a 267 average.
Yeah, and I mean, remember when he was first coming into that role, he wasn't having a good start with the Padres. I mean, we kind of thought he might be cut by the time,
for sure. Yeah, first 4 weeks were...
Yeah, and so then he steps in, he gets more playing time, he does a great job out there filling in for Fernando Tatis Jr. and does a great job at the plate as well. He and Donovan Solano it's hard to imagine what this team would have been without these two guys. It is kind of curious, like, when will they get signed? I mean, are they could also be holding out for maybe more of a multi-year contract, or trying to see if another team would be willing to give them more if the Padres have already made an offer and they're just kind of testing, or maybe the Padres are going in a different direction. But it would be great to see those guys come back on some kind of deal if both sides can agree to it. They're definitely additions to the clubhouse and definitely additions off the bench.
Yeah, and I don't think anyone is looking at either player as a starter on their team.
Right,
I mean,
right.
maybe in Oakland or something, Sacramento, I mean, but,
maybe get those done after you get the other things done.
That's what I'm
Right.
thinking, is that these are the kind of guys who in February are still looking for jobs, and you say, hey, come on back. Let's come up with a really reasonable deal to bring you back. So shout out to David Peralta. Yesterday, Braden and I kicked around, the good September that Brandon Lockridge has, and I think
good ship Lockridge
yeah.
pop.
Wow,
Whoa,
the good
what
ship
happened?
Lockridge
I don't even know
pop.
what just happened. I blacked out.
Are you choreographing a tap dance?
What?
A good ship
I just heard you
On
say
the
like
good
ship and lock.
Lockridge
and,
pop.
Yeah, I don't know how.
Let's not start that. Let's not make that a thing,
Ho
please.
ho 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 ho.
Ho ho to
All
take a
right.
break.
You talked about Braden Lockridge, who's
Yeah.
no longer he's no longer with the Padres.
What, Brandon Lockridge?
Wasn't Braden Lockridge part of the
You got him?
non-tendered tender?
No, I don't think so.
I don't know what's going on.
I think he's cool.
Okay.
I think he's
Sorry,
going to be a
Brandon.
Zokar next year. That's my thought. That's
Okay.
it. My one sentence. I think he'll be our Zokar next year. Fifth outfielder, right-handed batter, off the bench.
Yeah.
All three positions, defense, little speed, start once every 2 weeks.
It's fun to see these guys kind of get that opportunity and have a chance to really contribute, which they did.
Yeah, Bryce Johnson's the guy who got non-tendered.
Oh, that's probably who I'm
the
thinking
one.
of.
Yep.
That's who I'm thinking
Yep.
of. Yep. Thank you.
All right, let's take a timeout. When we come back, you're going to want to stay tuned for this. Is there a new procedure on the horizon that could transform the way pitchers train and maybe even lead to more gains in velocity? Our friend Will Carroll from Under the Knife joins us next on Annie and Elsten. This hour on 97.3 The Fan is brought to you by Buffalo Wild Wings. Buffalo Wild Wings is football. Hey, San Diego sports fans, head to your local Buffalo Wild Wings and try their new maple chipotle sauce for rich maple sweetness and a mild smoky chipotle heat. Or for a bit of a kick, check out the new Cajun sauce for a rich blend of spicy and tangy pepper sauce. Stop by your San Diego B-Dubs or order now for takeout and delivery with Buffalo Wild Wings Go. Annie and Elsten here with you. Let's go out to our 97.3 The Fan hotline. It's always great to catch up with Will Carroll. Will Carroll is a great writer who covers all things injuries on his Under the Knife Substack. He does many other things as well, but this is how we will introduce him. And his UTK special, I can't even say it, UTK special yesterday broke my brain, led me to immediately text him, and thankfully got him on the air here with us today. Will, Craig and Annie here with you. It is great to chat with you, my friend. How you been?
It's great because first, hey, I broke your brain. That's always fun. Second, it's not bad news for once. Usually I come on here and somebody's broken.
Right, yeah. Now, in this case, it's just me, and that's totally all right. Like, we can survive.
Yeah, I'm good with that.
Yeah, we can survive with me broken. Okay, let's dig into it. Annie's read your story. I've read your story. We've got questions. So let's start on a basic because we're informing an audience that I assume has not read any piece of it. So blood flow restriction therapy. What is this? Where did it come from? What's it supposed to do?
It's a technique that's been developed over about a decade ago. And the theory is that by cutting off blood flow, very simply by using tourniquets, you can create a response in the body that's both arterial and venous. It's starving for nutrients and it's stuck with all the byproducts. So it has to have a different physical response. And people figured out, largely in the military, that you can rehab somebody significantly faster and significantly better. I'll give you a recent study that was done on a population of 80-plus-year-old men. They were brought in from care homes in Britain. They were asked to do standing squats. Just imagine standing up, do a squat by yourself. For an 80-year-old man, that might be an effort. For me, some days that might be an effort. Yeah. Well, half of them just did squats. They did them 3 times a week for 6 weeks. The others did it with these tourniquets. And using the blood flow restriction, again, all they were doing was simple squats. One had 6% muscle gain. Pretty good. Keeping your muscle when you're that old, very, very good. The ones with blood flow restriction had 75% gains in 6 weeks. The amount, first, you're not doing more work and you're getting more results. We always like that. Second, you're not having to do heavy weights. So earlier on in a rehab, imagine an ACL rehab, imagine a Tommy John rehab, you can get more gains from less effort. If you can't throw at 75%, if you can only go out there and throw at 50%, if you can only walk or do the kind of rehab exercises you do from an ACL at a very low weight, you can get gains from what would normally take much higher weights and much higher workloads.
It's so fascinating. And reading within your story, you talked about how the challenge can be the equipment. It costs a lot of money. And also the specialization, because obviously you cut off oxygen to a limb. Things could go very wrong very fast if you don't know what you're doing, I would imagine.
Yeah.
But this isn't as simple as just like, hey, let me go grab an old T-shirt and tie it around my thigh or my bicep and go throw, right? Like, I mean, this requires more specialization. So can you talk a little bit about that? Like what the hurdles are a little bit with this?
Yeah, and we don't want this to be widespread. We don't want people doing this, in back alleys. Who works out in back alleys? But no, it does require specialized equipment that can sense the occlusion pressure, how much it's putting on, how much blood flow is getting through. It's very similar to blood pressure, but a little bit different. You have to know how much blood is moving through. You have to know the heart rate. So these pieces of equipment are exceptionally technical. And because of that, you can't really do a whole lot of things. You can do squats and bench presses and standard exercise. But when you get into big, complicated athletic movements like a pitching delivery, it's much, much more difficult. You can't take this out and run 40-yard dashes yet. They're working on one in a backpack. So this is something that's complicated. It's something that should only be done by trained professionals right now, just doctors, though they're talking about training things like pitching coaches and rehab specialists.
We're talking with Will Carroll. You can follow all of his work at undertheknife.substack.com. His issue on breaking the velocity barrier and blood flow restriction is free for you to check out. There's a guy that's kind of the vanguard of this. You've known him. You talked to him, Dr. Tyler White. One thing I loved about this story, Will, is the moment within it where Dr. White decides to go Green Goblin and create a procedure and do it himself. Like, I'm going to test it on myself and see what happens. And he had a lot more success than the Green Goblin did, thankfully.
Thankfully, yeah. And he hasn't turned evil yet, as far as I know. So, yeah, sometimes you just have to do that N of one. You have to do it. And he was a pitcher back in the day. He is a trained chiropractor, works with a lot of pitchers. He's out right now working with a couple of professional pitchers and likely using this method, though he wouldn't say that out loud. So, yeah, he's been on the cutting edge of this. I've known him for years. He's worked with a lot of pitchers at all levels. And it was actually a conversation we had that led to this most recent study where he's working on pitchers coming back from Tommy John surgery. So I'm really, really excited about this and the gains we can have, not just for pitchers. We see so many of them broken. There aren't many starters. Padres losing guys like Joe Musgrove. If we can find ways not just to build them up, but to keep them from breaking down, or when they do, get them back faster. Losing 18 months to Tommy John surgery is just unacceptable. If we could get them back in 6 months, that would be, it's still bad, but it's much, much more acceptable. It might only cost a season rather than a season and a half where we're at now, despite all the advances that we have. So imagine being able to do a bullpen where you're working less, but getting the same amount of gains, if not more. This kind of technology could make that possible.
Yeah, Will, I mean, it's tale as old as time across any sport or in any competitive environment where a man, a woman, whoever's competing is looking for an edge, right? What is that next edge that could give them the upper hand in that next level of competition? How widespread do you think this could get for major leaguers? And I mean, because it's not, like you said, it's not just about rehab. This is about, even for an aging player, someone who is concerned that teams maybe aren't going to look at him or her seriously, like this could really add years onto their career, it sounds like.
Yeah, that's the exciting part to me is that, as we age, we don't recover as well. So if we could get a guy like a Justin Verlander, a Yu Darvish who's getting up there, though that makes me feel old just to think about it. It's one of those things that I do think is going to be fairly widespread. I mean, it was 10 years ago we started hearing about spin rate and spin efficiency, and now that's led to pitch design and these 24-inch breaks that nobody can hit. So I think this is the same sort of thing. We're in very early days. I imagine we'll see some major leaguers that have used it by next season. I imagine we'll see some guys come out of Tyler White's clinic there in Missouri. I've got my eyes on some guys that I know he works with. I can't name any names yet, but it'll be very interesting to see how this goes. I do think it'll be widespread very quickly because these are expensive devices. They cost about $5,000 to $6,000. But that's to a baseball team. That's pocket change.
Yeah.
So I think
small
we'll
percentage
see all
of one
30.
game check. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly. So I think we'll see these out there fairly quickly, and I think we'll see pretty major results from it inside of 5 years.
Okay, which leads you, before we let you go, to kind of what you used as your tease, which is the idea that the top threshold for velocity could go up and go up significantly. Right now, it looks like around 105 is where people are topping out. Even just 10 years ago, the idea that a lot of people would throw 105 is completely crazy. But you talked to Dr. Tyler White about the potential of 110. I guess the most basic question I have, even if this technique is extremely efficient and is proven to be extremely successful, and it's helping people develop their muscles at a quicker rate with less stress on the tendons while they're developing it. If you're throwing 110, I mean, you're still putting that tendon under that stress during that pitch, right? Like there's no work around that.
No, that's going to be the interesting thing. Is so far, Joe Sheehan's demon lives at 100 miles an hour, and if your name's not Aroldis Chapman, every single pitcher in the major leagues that has been there more than 3 years and throws 100 miles an hour has a scar for Tommy John. It's almost automatic. So can we figure out a way to do that? Can we figure out, we're starting to see the first round of people that have used internal brace in the elbow. Are those going to break down at the same rates? I don't think so. So if we're having less revisions, does that mean we can throw harder? If we're putting a piece of Kevlar inside there, these are the perfect candidates. And if they're getting, this is the crazy thing. I talked earlier about the gains that we saw in 80-year-old men. What are we going to get from 20-year-old men? In military rehabs, they saw 100 and 120% gains in certain exercises. I don't want to extrapolate that kind of 100% gains. Nobody's going to throw 210, but 110, that's going to happen. That's going to happen, I think, by 2028.
Incredible stuff, Will. I mean, like I said, you broke my brain on this one. This is the kind of thing we could just talk about forever. Let everybody know where they can go, read more themselves, but more importantly, support what you're doing.
Yeah, go to undertheknife.substack.com. It's a tough social media environment out there, so I appreciate you guys letting me plug away. I normally write about injuries, but I like finding things like this. I've got a couple more articles, including one on the new Tommy John surgery called TJ3 that's coming out next week.
Well, I guess we'll just have to rebook you then. Appreciate you, Will.
Thanks, Will.
Thanks a lot.
There he goes, Will Carroll, the injury expert. You can find him on Twitter at the injury expert, but just go to undertheknife.substack.com. And again, a lot of what he does, he puts out the free articles as well, so you can get a taste. But if you're a fantasy player, if you're somebody who delves in all the time to the depths of a league, he's got like the best, including inside injury information all the time.
Yeah, and it's interesting to look at how the sport could be changed by technology or advances in recovery or these wild things that you would never dream about 10, 20 years ago, and what it could look like in 10, 20 years from now, and how different it could be, and how the rehab could be different even. I mean, even Tommy John surgeries, how far those have come.
Yeah.
It's wild to think about.
Could you imagine like little time machine and it just drops Will Carroll into Earl Weaver's office in like 1970 when he's got 4 starters that are each throwing 300 innings, and he's just like, let me tell you, tourniquets.
Yeah, exactly. and it's fascinating, too, because what becomes an advance, just like anything in your life, sometimes compromises another part of you, or,
sure.
Like there's not everything is a good thing. Too much of a good thing can be a bad thing or whatever. So watching it all get experimented with and who's willing to risk all that, it's interesting to watch.
Really cool stuff. Hope you enjoyed it. If you missed any of it, the Odyssey app lets you rewind to find the segments you missed. So go do it that way. Or hang out through this short commercial break, because we're back with the second half of the show, kicking it off with the Sports Fix next. Maybe you should. 12 o'clock on the Fan. Welcome back, everybody. It's the Annie and Elsten show here with you. And at the midpoint, when you are ready to eat lunch, we are ready to deliver the sports world to you in digestible fashion. It's your 12 o'clock sports fix. We all take a piece. Music needs to come down a little. It's kind of, there we go. Didn't want to compete with the Stones.
Oh, I'm glad you told me. Otherwise, I would have been too stupid to figure that one out. Thank you.
Oh, I mean,
Thanks. Go ahead.
Just
No,
go
go
on.
ahead. Go ahead. It's like, I'm doing a lot of
Blasting.
things back here. Trying my best, but whatever. I'm glad you told me that.
could you turn down the music? It's
Yeah.
good right now. where
You want it
is.
on? I mean,
No,
I can
it's
turn
good.
it off
It's
if
good
you
where
want.
it is right now. I think
All
it's
right.
perfect.
Go ahead. Let's get to the sports
Ho, ho,
fix.
Sports-
ho, ho, ho.
Here's Annie with baseball.
All right. Wow. Okay.
Well,
I think AJ Preller needs to make a deal happen.
That'd
I
be
think
really cool.
everybody
Make something
just
happen.
is feeling it right now. Exactly.
Let's get it going.
All right. 2 overseas players have just been posted from major league teams. Did you guys do this one yesterday? I don't think it came
Hi-Sung
through
Kim?
yesterday. Yes.
I did Hi-Sung Kim. I led
Dang
with that.
it.
It's okay. But that was the only one, not the other guy. Who's the other guy?
Right-hander Koyo Ioia.
What?
Koyo Iogi.
Okay.
Okay.
Koyo Iogi.
Yes. He's a right-hander. However,
Is he affordable?
Kim is the bigger name of the two. So now I'm just going to skip that. And I think he is affordable because Kim is the bigger name of the two. I don't really even have much on Iogi.
Good old Mr. and Mrs. Iogi's son.
Okay, let's move on. Let's go back to Florida, where there's always something happening. Colleen Wright of the Tampa Bay Times reports that the St. Petersburg City Council is scheduled to vote on approving bonds that would help finance a new stadium for the Rays. Even if the vote passes, this won't guarantee the stadium plans go through as intended. The delays have left the Rays to suggest that the stadium may not be ready in time for the 2028 season, leaving the club skeptical about the deal. To translate, the situation is still a mess. Right-hander Luis Severino and the A's are in agreement on a 3-year, $67 million contract. Sources tell Jeff Passan it is the largest guarantee in the history of the A's franchise. His deal with the A's includes an opt-out after the second season. The A's went into this winter seeking pitching, and now they get one of the best on the market in Severino, whose career earnings now top $130 million. Free agent pitching prices remain high, says Jeff Passan.
No kidding.
That's
Luis
all I
Severino
have.
gave us an hour of that, the high prices. All right, over to Braden. Let's get the football report rolling.
NFL news. We have some very bad injury news for a lot of, well, I really want to say contending teams when it comes to the Cowboys, or really the Jaguars, but a lot of season-ending news for some important players for the Cowboys and the Jags. The season is over for Dallas Cowboys All-Pro guard Zach Martin. Coach Mike McCarthy said Martin will undergo surgery on a right ankle issue that has been troubling the player for some time. Martin has missed the past 2 games with ankle and shoulder injuries, and now comes a question as to whether he will be back in 2025. Martin, who turned 34 last month, is under contract through 2025. However, when the deal was restructured last offseason, it was designed to help spread out the salary cap hit over 2025 and 2026. If he retired, if Martin is on the roster the 5th day of the 2025 league year, he would be guaranteed $40 million in 2026. Had the Cowboys not made the move, Martin would have been counted nearly $25 million against the cap. Season-ending surgery for Martin. Bad news for the Cowboys. As for the Jags, had the Ask Us Anything yesterday about what we thought about Azeez Al-Shahir being suspended only 3 games when Trevor Lawrence will likely miss the end of the season. Well, Jags officially made that part of the deal. They placed quarterback Trevor Lawrence on injured reserve Wednesday, likely ending his season. Lawrence, who was already dealing with a sprained AC joint in his left non-throwing shoulder, suffered a concussion late in the first half of the team's 23-20 loss to the Houston Texans on Sunday. Texas linebacker Azeez Al-Shahir was suspended 3 games, as mentioned, for hitting Lawrence in the head as he was sliding at the end of a 6-yard scramble. So Jags will be with Mac Jones from here on out at the quarterback position.
Tough.
That's the worst part of that entire episode.
Yeah.
Is now the starting quarterback for the Jags is out for the year. Last one for you. This is very interesting. Baltimore Ravens suspended wide receiver Deontay Johnson, not for like team rules, not for like missing curfew, for the fact that he didn't want to play.
Huh?
He was suspended for a game for conduct detrimental to the team announced Wednesday. Deontay's suspension stems from refusing to enter our game against the Eagles. Ravens general manager Eric DeCosta said in a statement. DeCosta called the disciplinary action, quote, a difficult decision. This is a player they traded for before the deadline.
Wow.
Johnson will miss the Ravens' December 15th game against the New York Giants. Baltimore is currently on a bye. Ravens had been vague about Johnson standing with the team after he suited up but did not play a snap in Sunday's 24-19 loss to the Eagles. It was even more curious that Johnson never entered the game because starting wide receiver Rashad Bateman was sidelined in the second half with a knee injury. Johnson could be seen standing by a heater on the sideline for most of the game. He's 28 years old. He's played only 39 snaps for Baltimore since being acquired from Carolina on October 29th. He has a total of 1 catch for 6 yards for the Ravens after being the leading receiver for the Panthers through 7 games with them this season. This decreased production could significantly impact him heading into free agent.
Yeah.
I think he should go in the transfer portal, is what I think.
It was very interesting. I had him in fantasy and he was doing really well. He got traded to Baltimore. I was like, this might work out. And immediately all websites were like, dump this guy. So it's like, okay, what's going on? But he refused to go out and play against the Eagles. And so now the Ravens are suspending him.
That's wild.
That
is insane.
I can't believe that. Is that going to be a recurring thing in professional sports?
I wonder if that, I'm only like 2/3 of the way through the Hard Knocks AFC North. Have you seen that yet, Braden?
No, it's the in-season with
The
4
in-season
teams.
one. Yeah, exactly.
So with 4 teams.
Yeah, and
That's
they're
pretty
covering
cool.
the AFC North. So, it's Pittsburgh, it's Baltimore, it's Cleveland, it's Cincinnati.
Is it pretty good?
So far, really good.
Okay.
Like, again, I started it yesterday afternoon and then something happened, right?
Yeah.
And so I stopped it. And then this morning I was going to try and jam through the end of it, but we had to get the match game ready. But it's classic Hard Knocks, Liev Schreiber inside the meeting rooms,
Right.
so on and so forth. And then all
Some
the sideline,
access, not all the
yeah,
access.
all the sideline audio, hearing what the coaches have to say. So I'm just curious because the real thrust of it is the head coaches. So I'm wondering if they caught a John Harbaugh moment because that game is supposed to be in the episode.
Right.
That's the game that they're prepping for is the Eagles game.
So we'll see if they got.
Yeah,
They
like,
have to
Right.
do something about it because people are going to ask about it after watching Hard Knocks.
Yeah, I'm wondering.
100%.
I mean, I'm just wondering. But yeah, Mike Tomlin is just the star of the show
He's
so
awesome.
far.
I can imagine.
I can't imagine not loving him if I was a player.
He's kind of underrated, I feel like. Like he's
Highly.
Yeah, he's been around. He's proven that he can coach, obviously. But you don't really hear a lot about him.
Outside of probably Pittsburgh. but
Exactly.
He should have a statue.
He's
Like,
had the
he's that kind of player.
quietest, never had a losing season NFL
Right.
career
That's what I'm saying,
I
right.
have ever seen.
Never
Highly
had a
respected.
losing season.
Right.
Well, the Steelers have
Super Bowl
always been good.
champion. Yeah.
Well, that's because it's, how many Steelers coaches have there been? Like 5?
Have
Ever?
there been 5?
There's been maybe
Mm-hmm.
even that.
It's been 3. I mean, Chuck Knox, Tomlin,
Bill Cowher.
Cowher.
That might be it.
I mean, that literally might be it.
Okay, but so in the show, you
Yeah,
see
no,
like
he's
a lot
great.
behind
Yeah,
the scenes with
yeah.
him and his players and everything.
all
Okay,
of
that's
them,
cool.
all of them.
I'm gonna check it out. Okay.
Jameis Winston goofing around at practice, although he seems like an interesting guy. He just seems like a big puppy dog.
Yeah, he's hilarious. He says the funniest
He
things
does.
all the time. The
Yeah.
funniest things.
I feel like he's of a particular level. It's like he's an overgrown kid, and I think when he's 60, he's going to be exactly the same way. Like really cool hanging with kindergartners. And that's not dissing Jameis Winston. He seems like a really nice guy. Anyways, yeah, check that out, and that's pretty good.
That's it for the NFL report of college basketball when we come back.
All right, and it was a huge day in college basketball,
Yes.
so stay tuned for that. Here's the report that spans your arena and local teams. San Diego Gulls on the win train again.
Yeah.
Let's
There you
go,
go.
Gulls. Oh, man, I'm glad I wasn't at this game, though. 12-round shootout to beat San Jose in San Jose last night. So the Barracuda scored a goal in the first, and the Gulls scored a goal in the second, and nobody scored in the third, and nobody scored in overtime. And then they did 12 shootout rounds. And finally, the Gulls scored. Nathan Gaucher, congratulations, young man. Much happier bus ride home for the Gulls. It's an 8-hour ride.
Love that that's how it goes.
Yeah.
You know, like, oh, well, you're just there till it ends.
Just keep going.
Get another shootout round.
Might be 14 people
Right.
inside SAP Center. Let's do it again. That win snapped a 6-game losing streak for the Gulls, who will host Bakersfield tomorrow night at Pechanga Arena. NBA, you might remember the Woj bomb before the start of the season that Adrian Wojnarowski had left his job as the NBA's insider for ESPN and became the general manager at St. Bonaventure for their college basketball program. Woj let it be known that prior to that career decision, he was diagnosed with prostate cancer. He also went on to say that he's doing quite well. And that his diagnosis is very good and, extremely slow moving, and that his recent tests have been terrific. But quite understandable with that context why he'd give up that really thankless, ultra pressure, even though it's an incredibly high paid job, but that you have to be on 24/7, 365, have to be taking text messages at 2:20 in the morning, and say, no, you know what? Change of course, change of life, change of career. I'm going to go to the program I love. I'm going to dive into one thing, and I'm not going to always have to be waiting to see if JJ Redick calls me back.
I mean, his quotes today I thought were so indicative of what he was feeling at that time along those lines, because he talked about going to Chris Mortensen's funeral, and he died of throat cancer, and noticing how many fellow colleagues didn't show up to that funeral. And he said, quote, Wojnarowski said, quote, it made me remember that this job isn't everything. And in the end, it's just going to be your family and close friends. And it's also like nobody gives a bleep. Nobody remembers breaking stories in the end. It's just vapor.
So true.
It just kind of shows, I think it is. You get to a point where you're like, hey, man, the adrenaline rush and all the craziness of it and being on ESPN all the time, like sometimes it's just not worth it anymore.
Yeah, you thought it was so important at the time.
Right.
Because you got that dopamine of Woj bomb, but in the end, nobody really cares. They're happy you did it, but because they got the info. It's not like, well, thank you so much, Woj.
Yeah, in the end, I mean, it's a brutal industry, or it can be any industry that you're in. You have to realize what your priorities are.
Absolutely. So, tip of the cap to Adrian Wojnarowski. Let's talk about who's hot and who's not. The Atlanta Hawks are hot, one of the hottest teams in the NBA. They won their 5th in a row last night, and in doing so, they beat the Bucks, who had been the hottest team. They had won 7 in a row, but Milwaukee falls 119-104. I was watching this game for a good piece last night, and the Hawks were relentless. They've got as much scoring, defensive, long, rangy, athletic wings as anybody in the NBA. So keep an eye on Atlanta. On the other side of the universe, the team you don't have to watch on NBA League Pass right now is the Lakers. The Lakers got nuked again.
What's going on with the Lakers?
Late show.
It's a
Lake
good
show.
question because,
What's going on with your guy, JJ?
well, I think JJ's doing all right.
Okay.
I think he's doing all right.
JJ's doing the best he can.
However,
for what he has inherited.
Shouldn't this team be better?
Should it though?
Should it though?
LeBron's basically 40.
They drafted his son. Like,
Yeah. I mean, the kid they did draft is really good, Connect.
Oh, yeah, Connect is good, but you wasted another pick on his son.
Yeah, you did. Now, here's the thing. The Lakers got annihilated, 134-98. And the night before, they had gotten blown out in Minnesota.
I mean, you're going to go through tough stretches. You're not going to win every game.
And when you're a veteran team on the road and you get nuked one night and then you come back the very next night to play in Miami, maybe you don't give your very, very best. But it's something to say that in the history of the Minnesota/Los Angeles Lakers franchise, they had never lost consecutive games by a total of 70 points. But they have now done it. And they did it in the LeBron AD era. They managed to have the single worst 2-game stretch in the history of the franchise.
Yikes.
So that's what's going on with the Lake Show. LeBron James finally did hit a 3-pointer in the game. It ended a stretch of 20 consecutive misses from beyond the arc for LeBron. And Anthony Davis scored in single digits for the second straight game. So if the Lakers are on, you don't need to watch League Pass. if Houston is on, if Atlanta is on, turn that bad boy on and enjoy some great NBA basketball. On the scoreboard today in the national. Oh, and by the way, the Clippers got blown out too. At home by Minnesota, 108-80.
How's Ballmer doing?
He is not
passed
happy
out
this
yet?
morning. Yeah.
With the energy he brought every single game.
Yeah. How are those seats with the
Yeah.
Chargers in them and the wall and
Yeah.
I'm sure the wall was not at full capacity once they were down 28 in
I
the
was gonna
fourth.
say,
but,
what's the student section like for
Right.
the pro team?
is it as good as the Aztecs?
I'd
Probably
still like
not.
to go, and I'd love to go and even be
For sure. I would like to
necessarily
see
in
it.
the wall.
Yeah.
It'd be fun, you know.
Fun to watch the wall. It'd be fascinating to watch.
I'd like to watch it. Here's what's going on tonight. 8 games. Denver is at Cleveland. That's your best game. 11-8 at 19-3. Charlotte is at New York. Houston at Golden State. That should be a really good one as well. Those two teams have a little bit of a grudge, and they're going to be facing each other in the NBA Cup next week. So a good preview of that. Over to the National Hockey League last night. LA Kings defeated Dallas by a 3-2 score. Vegas Golden Knights skated right past the Anaheim Ducks 4-1 at Honda Center. Tonight there are 9 games on the ice, none involving the Southern California teams. We're keeping an eye on Winnipeg at 18-8. They are at Buffalo. That's it for me. College basketball was huge last night. Braden's got the story.
College basketball is huge, and a lot of news in college football as well, which is awesome to see. There's a lot of controversy going out with some NIL stuff. We'll get to that in a second. Aztecs over Fresno State last night, 84-62. It's a big games in the top 25. Creighton upsets Kansas. That's great news for the Aztecs. Big win for Creighton. Out of all the schools that potentially, that the Aztecs beat that could potentially have fallen off a little bit. I was thinking about Creighton, the way that they played in that tournament, but then they go out and beat the number 1 team in the country by 13 points in the Big 12 Big East battle. So good for Creighton. Is good for the Aztecs. Duke beats up on Auburn 84-78. So the top 2 teams in the country went down last night, and the number 5th team in the country went down last night, albeit they did play the 6th best team, Iowa State, who beat them by 11 points, 81-70 in Ames, Iowa. Iowa State over Marquette. Alabama beat up on North Carolina 94-79. UConn outlast Baylor 76-72. And then Mississippi State upset 18th ranked Pittsburgh last night 90-57. College basketball, a lot of ranked teams going down. Tonight, the only team in action for us in San Diego from the men's side would be the UCSD Tritons. They're taking on the Gauchos in Santa Barbara to start Big West play, 7 o'clock ESPN.
Titans.
Plus, I will have the women's basketball game for USD tonight. They host La Sierra.
Do it.
La Sierra at the NAIA. But that's it for basketball. University of Tulsa football players and their families are claiming their coaches made verbal promises of name, image, and likeness payments, but they haven't received anything. Quote, they were using this money as leverage, and then it just kept getting pushed back, and now season's over, and no one ever got anything. Quarterback Cooper Ligas,
Yikes.
who is
Shysters.
speaking out alongside linebacker Miles Jackson, who told the local news station KTUL. Ligas, why did that do that? Article just flipped up. Ligas said in the deal that he came to Tulsa expecting to get, quote, a decent amount of extra money, but he has had to live off of his wife's salary as a receptionist. Okay, I guess he's married. Good for him. Players and their families say the problem had been compounded by November 24th firing of the head coach Kevin Wilson, who they say is one of the staff members who promised tens of thousands of dollars in NIL money. He chose this school over others, and part of the reason was he was promised the NIL money. Told another local news station, Cooper's mother, Jennifer Ligas, said, currently Wilson had been extremely upfront in the media, at least, about Tulsa's lack of NIL resources. So, guy promises a lot of money in NIL, doesn't get the backing from his NIL funding. Kids don't get paid. He ends up getting fired. Mess. NIL messes. And usually,
this can happen anywhere, anytime.
And usually when all these happen, it's we didn't get anything in writing. Well,
But
if it's not in writing.
Is there a requirement that the NIL deals have to be in writing? Or these?
No,
you know,
not with a contract. I mean, there could be verbal contracts that you would have to honor, but I mean,
But people
to
are. I guess the
me-
kids are getting wiser now, though, to that. Like that was.
Yeah, put
right,
it in
yeah.
writing. I mean, that's what. Anytime somebody offers you a lot of money,
Right.
You got to be like, all right, well, let me see something written up, and
For
we'll
sure.
talk. It's like, hey, I'm going to promise to give you all this money, and you're like, okay, great. Where do I sign?
No, I
have
agree
nothing-
with you. I just think that's what makes this like the whole wild, wild west. Like if you're a kid and you don't think it through, and you're just like, oh, they said they will. They shook my hand. It's like,
Right?
no, there's no reason that they're going to pay that out.
So far, the schools have been like UNLV and Tulsa and some of those Group of 5 schools. Not as much with the Power 5 schools just yet. I'm sure there'll be some more stuff on that. Do you guys remember the last time Texas and Georgia played this season?
Can't say I do.
It was in Austin, and Georgia won.
Georgia won. I
But
remember
they had
that.
that penalty reversed after all the bottles got thrown on the field.
I remember that
Oh,
too.
yes,
Yes, I do remember that.
And you remember that Texas was going to open up an investigation
Uh-huh.
on all the bottle throwing
Did
incidents.
they clear themselves?
The University of Texas investigation of the bottle throwing incidents, because they were going to start banning people from coming to games, that disrupted the Texas-Georgia game in October and drew a harsh rebuke and fine from the SEC, resulted in no one being caught or punished.
Oh,
Wow. Can't believe it.
Shocker.
internal investigation.
Yeah,
Uncovers
Shocked,
nothing.
shocked, I say.
In a report to the SEC sent last month, Texas officials said a video review did not identify any of the culprits.
Dang
Texas and Georgia meet Saturday in the SEC championship game in Atlanta. Their first meeting in Austin, 30-15, Georgia win.
Unbelievable.
That's good. They saw Matthew McConaughey throwing some bottles. I'm like, oh wait, we can't. Hold on, can't punish him.
Don't slander Matthew
I
McConaughey
know.
like that.
Well, Matthew McConaughey
Did he
obviously.
come out afterwards and
Yeah, he was one of the guys saying, "Hey, don't do
That's
that."
right.
Yeah, hey,
Matthew
all right,
McConaughey
all
was
right,
also,
all right.
also
Don't
on the
throw the
field
bottles.
for those games. UCLA is firing their offensive coordinator, Eric Bieniemy, after one season,
Bieniemy.
source confirmed to
Fifth down
ESPN. Bruins ranked 126th nationally in scoring. That's 18 points per game. Failed to put up more than 20 points over their final 4 games, and the Bruins finished 5-7 this season, failing to reach bowl eligibility. Eric Bieniemy out after 1 year at UCLA. Michigan's going to sign their AD, Ward Manuel, through the 2030 season, sources confirm. Ward Manuel is the athletic director of Michigan. He is also the current chairman of the college football playoff. So there you go. Take that
Okay.
for what it's worth. He got a contract extension. Brett Yormark, the Big 12 commissioner, clearly expressed his displeasure about the college football playoff rankings this week on a Zoom call with national and local reporters of his teams in his conference. He goes on to say, no way should a group of 5 champ outrank the Big 12. He also says the selection committee continues to show time and time again that they're paying attention to logos versus resumes. In an open, nearly 4-minute statement during a Zoom call to preview the Big 12 title game, spent most of it arguing about the college football playoff seedings for the Big 12. As a commissioner, that's what you have to do. Same as the ACC. Unfortunately for them, they're not the Big 10 of the SEC. A little extended on a Thursday, but we were very short yesterday.
That's true. We do have to take a break, though. 12:23. Let's take a timeout. There's your 12 o'clock sports fix. John Flint from KSON is standing by to come on in and let us know what they are doing and what they're doing to help out paying the hospital bills for kids with cancer here in San Diego. So that heartwarming story right after this timeout on The Fan. 1229 on the Fan. Welcome back, everybody. Annie and Elsten. We've got a special guest in studio right now, and it's not even the match game. That'll be next. That'll be next segment. Now, I would hold you over, but it's a very busy man joining us right now. John Flint, part of the John and Tammy show on KSON, happening right now. Underway. That's the word I was looking for. The 37th KSON Country Cares for St. Jude Kids Radiothon. John is going to be spending a lot of time here inside the Odyssey Palace. He is here right now. How are you, my friend?
I'm so great. Thank you guys so much for having me. And I've never been on your show before. So first of all,
it's true.
I love the show. The Padres Deep Dive is one of my favorite hours of radio, and I'm not even joking. So thank you for all the entertainment you bring me during the Padres season and beyond. And I've never officially said welcome to San Diego on air. So welcome to San Diego, you guys, except
Thank
Braden.
you.
Are we playing each other in fantasy this week?
It's possible.
Oh, boy. All right. Anyway.
I can't talk to you now for this.
Guys, thank you for having me on. Real quickly, I want to thank all your listeners who don't know who the hell I am, and that's fine. I don't care about that. I don't care if you hate country music. I just want you, because I know we all have one common thing. We love kids, right? And sick kids, no bueno. St. Jude Children's Research Hospital is a very small hospital in Memphis, Tennessee, surrounded by a massive research facility. And inside that facility right now, and every day of the year, 365 days, 24 hours a day, there are researchers, the most brilliant minds in the world, who are doing nothing but trying to find catastrophic diseases, cures, and protocols. When they do come up with these protocols, they freely share them around the world, including many patients right here at Rady who are being treated by protocol that was discovered by St. Jude Research Hospital doctors and scientists. That's why you donate to a hospital in Memphis, Tennessee, when we have great facilities here in Southern California. That's why we do something every year called the Country Cares for St. Jude Kids Radiothon. I'm very proud to be a part of the staff of KSON, because KSON was the first radio station in America to start this radiothon. It was heard literally by the lead singer and founder of a group called Alabama. His name is Randy Owen. He heard that. He took it and launched it nationwide based on what he heard here in San Diego. So Be proud of that, San Diego. We started the whole thing, which is now not only is a $1 billion charity now. We've raised $1 billion, but it is the biggest charity fundraiser that St. Jude does all year. And knowing that it's all publicly funded, that's a huge statement. So I take a lot of pride, as should everybody in San Diego listening to that, because that's a lot of lives saved, including many, many, many children here who are now adults in San Diego because of St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. That said, the most astounding thing about it is that you are never asked to pay a single cent for any care you get at St. Jude. Pardon me, I've been here since. It's going to get worse, unfortunately. And anybody that's ever had anybody in a hospital. I mean, I mentioned my daughter. She had to have periodic surgeries as her face grew. You can't do it all at once, obviously.
Your daughter had?
My daughter Julia had a complete cleft lip and palate.
So again,
I'm not.
with that, right?
I was talking about you off the air.
We were
Sorry
talking
about
off
that.
the air about it, right?
Yeah. So my daughter Julia was born with a complete cleft lip and palate, which basically means she had a hole in her face where her nose and her mouth is now. And I'm not comparing that to a catastrophic disease, but it was still life changing.
Yeah.
And
absolutely,
she had to get several facial cranial plastic surgeries because of that as she grew. Pardon me, her last one, the kind insurance company decided it was an elective surgery and did not cover it. And I got a bill for a very steep 6 figures I couldn't do it. It was forget about just, oh my God, how am I going to pay for this? It affected my marriage. I'm now single. I had to get legal representation. It almost ruined me. And imagine being told that your kid has cancer. And, oh, by the way, here's a massive bill, and you're going to lose your house, and you have to quit your job because you got to be with your kid. All of that is gone because of St. Jude. I mean, they charge you $1,000 for a Tylenol at a hospital. I mean, check your next ER bill. Yeah. Nothing is asked for the parent. All they want you to do is take care of your child. That's your job as a parent, and St. Jude recognizes it. And that's why this place is magic. That's why we call you partners in hope when you make a donation. Now, why am I on? Because I'm asking you to make a donation right now. If you're a big fan of the show, and I know that you are, you're listening to it right now. Who cares who I am? You love these guys. If you can text KIDS, KIDS, just text KIDS to 785-833. You'll get a link from St. Jude. It'll take you 2 minutes, and then everything's rosy. Soto doesn't go to L.A. I promise you that.
Do they promise that as well?
I mean,
okay.
I'll promise anything to get Partners in Hope, okay? By the way, I had a nightmare last night that he did go with L.A., and my daughter was crying in my nightmare. I hope I'm not speaking the future. But anyway, text KIDS, KIDS, to the number 785-833. If it's easier, just go to KSON.com. You can make a donation right there as well. Anything else?
What a great cause. I mean, just speaking as any parent out there, to think that your child might have to go through something like this. And you're right. I mean, the diagnosis itself is already so traumatic. To take away the need to have the trauma around, or the stress around the payment, or what those bills might be, it's just got to be completely life-changing.
Did you guys know that our boss, Michael, his son is alive thanks to St. Jude Children's Research Hospital?
Didn't know that.
His son, years ago, he had a brain tumor, and his wife said, "You save our house to Michael, I'll pack up and go to St. Jude." And for a year and a half, she lived in Memphis with her son. And Michael said, "We just bought our house. I had to stay." But I mean, he doesn't like to talk about it too much. But his son is here because of St. Jude Children's Research Hospital.
That's incredible.
The point is, you become a partner in hope as an insurance policy that you never ever need to cash in. But God forbid if you do. Thank God you've got a place like St. Jude. And again, they share their protocol freely. That includes the patients right now who are dealing with cancer protocol at Rady. So it's very near and dear to our hearts. Tammy and I, my morning show partner on KSON, we've been together for 25 years. We've been here in San Diego for almost 14. We've done countless radiothons. I'm so proud of that fact. This is our job to give back with our big mouths. And thanks for my healthy children, and thanks for Tammy's healthy children and grandchildren. You just never know.
Yeah.
You just never know. And we'll be here till 7 o'clock on the air tomorrow night.
So will you sleep? How does it work?
I'll have a break in about an hour.
Okay.
And that's not just Tam and me. The entire KSON team is all part of it behind the scenes. I don't want to make it look like but we're the big mouths, as I mentioned. But yes, I'll tell you, Annie, it's I'm not young anymore. This used to be a breeze, and now listen, I'll sleep on Sunday.
Yeah,
I mean, it's worth it.
Those all-nighters don't come as easily anymore.
I've got two beautiful young women who are my daughters, and I just thank God for them every day. And this is why I do what I do.
It's an incredible cause. What you're doing is incredible.
Thank you, guys.
Proof of concept, John, while you were talking, I texted KIDS to 785-833. You immediately get a quick link. You follow the link. And just like that, able to, throw in a donation to St. Jude's.
Craig, thank you, man.
So it's very simple. It'll take you 2 minutes. If you've got an iPhone like me or Apple Pay, just boom, 2 side clicks, and you're there and you're done. You're going to get the receipt. I'm sure you can throw that into the old tax at the end of the year. So help out St. Jude's Children's Research Hospital, KSON, Country Cares for St. Jude's. And again, text KIDS, KIDS, to 785-833. That's the important, but 785-833. Those are the 6 numbers. Once you text KIDS, boom, you get a link, bang, you're done, you're set. So
when
great stuff, man.
Thank you, Craig. When you become a partner in hope, also, you're going to get I know you don't need an incentive to do the right thing, but you know what? Why not? Take it. It's a great-looking shirt. It's called This Shirt Saves Lives t-shirt. When you wear it proudly. And if someone asks you, how does this shirt save lives? Tell them and spread the word of St. Jude. They might thank you. I mean, this is a very recognizable product now. You'll also get a great-looking Music Saves sweatshirt, and these are shirts that you actually want to wear. Not like when you join a ride or a walk and they give you one of those shirts with the 80,000 logos in the back and they end up in your drawer. You never wear them. Or they take them out during car wash season. These are shirts you want to wear. And I know you don't need a gift, but we're going to give you one anyway. And thank you, guys. Thank you so much. If you want a real laugh, get me on tomorrow at this time.
Yeah.
And we'll have some more fun. Right.
I should have saved the match game for tomorrow.
Delirious John is probably the best John.
I mean, it depends on who you ask. I happen to agree, but someone might have a different opinion. I love you guys. Thank you so much.
Appreciate you, John.
Good luck.
There goes
Thank you.
John
Yes.
Flint. Listen, KSON Radiothon all the way through 7 o'clock tomorrow night. All right, let's take a time out. Our all-star celebrity panel is gathering behind the scenes. We're back to play the match game next, and that means we need 2 contestants to give us a call on the line. Up for grabs today once again, and this is just the second to last time that you can get qualified for our grand prize 2-night stay at Westgate Las Vegas, 2 tickets to Solo Motown, and a $150 food and beverage credit. All you have to do is be the best on the match game today. So let's open up the lines. 833-288-0973. Lines are now open. 833-288-0973. We need 2 contestants on the line to go head-to-head. We play match game after this on The Fan. The Westgate Las Vegas Resort and Casino features newly designed premier rooms, part of their $70 million room renovations, home of legendary Vegas fun. The award-winning Soul of Motown is a high-energy concert-style musical tribute celebrating Motown legends. This is a must-see show during your Las Vegas vacation getaway. Tickets at westgateresorts.com. Welcome back, everybody. It's time for today's silly game. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see the all-star celebrity panel is here. So it's time to get ready to match the stars. Annie Heilbrunn.
Hello.
Adam Klug.
Still wearing my green shirt that I got made fun of earlier today. I got called Kermit, in case you're wondering. Hi,
Wow.
everybody.
I don't think that's appropriate.
It's not even Kermit
It
color.
isn't even
No.
Kermity, right?
There's someone in the YouTube chat. I believe Nate Taylor, maybe?
Oh,
Oh,
Nate.
Nate.
Hey, put the fries in the bag,
Put the
Nate.
fries all the way in the bag,
No,
Nate.
no making fun of fries.
No
on the
wardrobe
show.
change here.
Adam proving it's easy being green.
That's right.
On the red, Greg.
And I am wearing my shirt to support my friends down the hall in the St. Jude Radiothon on KSON.
You can do it. You can do it.
Great cause.
Just
Great
text.
cause.
Hang on, just text kids to 785-833. I've got it right there on the phone.
Very good.
Braden Soprenin.
What's up?
And I'm your host, Gene Rayburn. Welcome to Match Game 97.3. This is where you try to match the stars for big money and prizes. And again, today's prize, a chance to be qualified for our drawing at the end of the week for a grand prize, 2-night stay at Westgate Las Vegas, 2 tickets to Soul of Motown, and a $150 food and beverage credit. We have screened our contestants. Is it Bradley and Ted?
We are going to go with Bradley and Vista.
Okay.
Hello, Bradley. Welcome to the Match Game.
How's it going?
It's going great, brother. Tell us a little bit about yourself before we play the game.
My name is Bradley. I lived in San Diego my whole life. Huge Padres fan. This is my first time calling in, so I'm very excited.
It's great to have you here,
Bradley.
Thanks for
Bradley.
calling.
You're
Yes.
going to be taking on Ted in Escondido. Hello, Ted.
Hello.
Hello. Tell us a little bit about yourself,
Hello,
Ted.
Ted.
I've lived in Escondido almost my whole life. I'm a big fan of the station, and I'm self-employed.
Outstanding,
All right.
Ted. Well, let's see if you can gin up a trip to Vegas right here. This is the match game. It's very straightforward. Here is how it is played. People unscrew their caps for hilarious sound effects. And then
Right into the mic.
we have 2 rounds of questions. Each of you will receive 1 question each per round. This is how it's going to work. I'm going to read the question out loud. You're going to be thinking of your answer quietly while the music plays and our panel writes down their best answer. Then I'm going to come back to you and ask you for your best answer to the question. We will compare. Every time you match, you get a point. At the end of 2 rounds and potentially a tiebreaker, whoever is ahead is going to be qualified for the Las Vegas trip. Now, Bradley, you called in first. That makes you contestant number 1. So, in the first round, would you like question A or question B?
Let's go question B.
Question B it is, Bradley. I'm going to put you on hold while we read it. As a reminder, as we begin the game, all of the characters that you hear described on Match Game 97.3 are 100% and entirely fictitious, and any resemblance to somebody living or dead is 100% coincidental.
Thank you.
So with that disclaimer, let's move on. All right, new game, guys. Let's get locked in for round 1, question B. Tammy the teacher said, "Most of my students give me apples, but the surgeon's son just put a blank on my desk." Tammy the teacher said, "Most of my students give me apples, but the surgeon's son just put a blank on my desk." What would a surgeon's son be giving?
Ready.
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 All right. And once our verbal announcements of being ready are done, we turn it back to our contestant. Okay, Bradley. Tammy the teacher said, "Most of my students give me apples, but the surgeon's son just put a blank on my desk."
Tough one. I'm going to say a mask.
A mask. Put a mask on my desk. All right.
I almost went mask.
All right. Oh, wow. So I'll say good answer because Adam almost gave it. But let's go around the horn and find out.
Decent answer.
Here's,
Adam has an
Annie
answer that I
Halpern.
was thinking in my head, but I couldn't.
I'm in the
get
same
that
boat as
name.
you, Annie.
Okay, I just have knife and it's
Okay, yeah. A bloody
well,
knife.
Yeah, that's
bloody
a,
scalpel.
There's a knife with blood dropping off of it as my picture.
Yikes.
Okay.
It's
Okay.
not Halloween anymore.
Well,
All right.
Annie's always spooky.
Adam Klug.
I almost went mask, but I did go scalpel.
Scalpel.
I
Scalpel.
almost put that.
Scalpel seems
Yeah.
like a good answer. On the red, Greg.
I also meant scalpel, but I put blade.
Blade. Okay. Anything sharp would have been 3 matches at this point. Here's Braden.
I put a kidney.
That's a good answer.
That's
Yeah.
a great answer.
Yeah. Kidney,
Yeah.
heart.
An organ.
Harvesting kidneys.
something
Okay.
that the surgeon cut out of a body. Is kind of where I was going, but it's quite all right. Everything's good, Bradley, but no score in the first round. Okay, Ted, it's your turn. Here comes round 1, question A. Awesome Adam is growing out his hair.
Totally coincidental here.
Fictitious Adam.
He was inspired when his kids gave him blank. Awesome Adam is growing out his hair. He was inspired when his kids gave him blank. All right, so what would a kid give Awesome Adam to inspire him to grow out his hair? What would fit that bill? Verbal from the panel when they're
Yes.
ready.
Verbal.
Yeah, good. That's very
This is
good.
just
Your hair's growing out
crazy,
quickly
crazy
too.
cool.
It's
Yeah,
fantastic.
no, whoever Adam is, his
But
hair's
yes,
growing
my
out
hair has
quickly.
happened
yes,
to just
yes.
I'm
Real
excited
quickly.
for the fro. It's going to be
My
great.
name happens to be Adam. I'm ready.
I'm ready.
Well, I'm glad that we read the disclaimer. Here's Ted in Escondido now. Ted, the question goes like this. Awesome Adam is growing out his hair. He was inspired when his kids gave him
Let's go with toupee.
a toupee. Gave him a wig. Wig also is acceptable.
I have wig.
Wig is a
Boom.
match right there.
Nice.
That's one match. Completely coincidental and not, but actually also growing out his hair, Adam Klug.
I like the answer in the chat, a hairbrush. Like, hey, you need to use this. But it's not what I went
Yeah.
with. I went with Rogaine.
Okay, that's a good answer.
Yeah, I like
You're
that
bald.
too.
You need this.
Right.
Nope. Prove you wrong.
I thought that this fictitious Adam might have received a chia
Yes,
Chia
Chia
Pets.
Pets. Exactly. That's what I was
That's
thinking
funny.
about.
I went with like what Adam was saying, but I said Nutrafol.
Oh, there
Very
we
mod-
go.
a very
wow,
modern
yeah.
answer.
Yeah,
You're really
wow.
up to
Very
date.
good.
Modern brand.
Right.
Wow.
I
Jeez.
think those are like vitamins for your hair or
That's
something.
right.
Yep.
Right.
Nonetheless, that's one match for Ted, and it's a 1-0 score as we head to round 2.
I gotta say, Adam came in with a chip on his shoulder with the Kermit
He really
thing,
did.
and the hair
Yeah.
thing. He's proven
It's like
a lot of people
nothing's going on in
wrong
baseball.
today.
Yeah.
Guys could be talking like Patrick Mahomes to prove that he's not.
On to round 2. Ted, because you called in second, you're contestant number 2. So in round 2, you get the choice. Would you like question A or question B?
Question A.
Question A it is. Ted, I'll put you back on hold. And here we go. Round 2, question A. Lock in.
Locked.
At the circus, the old ringmaster said to the new ringmaster, "Remember, son, no matter how tired you get, never take a nap under the blank."
This is very random.
This is literally a question poached directly from
Wait,
Match
can you
Game
do it one more
76. Absolutely.
Okay, thanks.
In the voice, too.
Yeah.
At
Yeah.
the circus, the old ringmaster said to the new ringmaster, "Remember, son, no matter how tired you get, never take a nap under the blank." That actually hurts to do that voice, it turns out.
I wasn't paying attention. Can you do it one more time?
Yeah.
I'm
At the
kidding.
circus.
Please. We'll do it
Remember,
again
son.
when the caller comes on.
Remember, son,
Are you Batman all of a sudden?
before my voice goes. I'm Ello, is more like it.
That's right.
Jeez. All right, let me know when you're done.
Well, I'm ready.
Oh, you guys got to let me know.
I'm not super stoked about my answer,
Okay.
but
Well, let's see what happens. All right, Ted, back to you. At the circus,
Sounds like Ello.
at the circus, the old ringmaster said to the new ringmaster, "Remember, son, no matter how tired you get, never take a nap under the..."
Bleachers.
Under the bleachers.
The bleacher.
Which was actually suggested in our
Yeah,
chat.
that's a good answer.
It's definitely not the answer I'm looking for, but let's find out if it's the one you get.
I went to Under the Circus Freak, like
Under just the weird.
the weird
the
person
weird
with
guy?
two heads, or the
Yes.
guy that has like a lot of muscles.
Oh, the greatest
To
showman.
me,
here?
there's an obvious answer here, but let's see if Adam Klug came up with it.
I went tightrope.
Under the tightrope, well, yeah, someone could fall on you. That'd be dangerous.
It's logical.
Very good.
I
Greg.
think Greg's got it.
I don't know if circuses are allowed to have these anymore, but I went with elephant.
Yes, that's it. Don't fall asleep under the elephant.
That's
Be the worst place to be.
that's the answer that I was not confident in was elephants.
Yes, absolutely
Nice job.
elephants. That's a great answer. Okay. Well, what that means, Bradley, is you're still in the game, bro. All you need is 1 to tie or 2 to win. So here we go. You get question A in round 2. Putting you back on hold.
Just goes to show that Greg and I watch film.
Yeah, exactly.
No
Studying
kidding.
the
We were breaking it down last night,
All
late
right,
last night.
here we go. Final question. Did you hear what happened to Humpty Dumpty?
He fell off the wall.
What happened to Humpty Dumpty?
He got blanked for Easter.
Huh?
Did you hear what happened to Humpty Dumpty? He got blanked for Easter. What happens to,
Yeah.
yeah, on that holiday?
I'm done.
Done.
I feel like I'm at a disadvantage here. I'm
Wow.
wow. Throw that out there.
Wow. Wow.
Okay, done.
We just, at my house, we call Easter Sunday. Got it.
Yeah, wait a minute.
I got
yeah,
the
that's
wrong.
right.
I think Greg's got the right answer here.
Okay, let's go to Bradley
I
and
think
see
so,
if
too.
you've got a winner in you, my friend. Did you hear what happened to Humpty Dumpty? He got blanked for Easter.
Want to change me?
Me too, but
I'm going to say that he got painted.
Yes, absolutely. Colored, painted, dyed. All of those will be acceptable.
it's a smart
answers?
answer.
I plead ignorance on this one.
Unfortunately, boiled.
Boiled is
That-
mean,
I like
but
that
funny.
one. I almost wrote that.
I know.
But I do think you're gonna get a match.
I'm gonna go ahead and say I'm praying that Braden got the match here. I know that Greg did. I went with cracked.
Cracked,
Yeah.
yeah, got
Yeah.
cracked. Fair enough.
Oh, he was painted.
Bing, that's a match. One away from a win.
Come on, Braden.
What I really wanted to put
No
was,
tie.
but I put boiled, and then I had colored, cracked, but I obviously
Oh,
couldn't
Three
use
answers.
tie.
That's three
Oh
answers.
God.
like tar and feathered, but he got boiled.
Dang it, we're tied.
I mean, you can't
We're torching the clock. All right,
you
quick
can't tie the
tiebreaker.
egg until it's boiled.
Quick tiebreaker. Here we go, Bradley. You're first up. Bradley, we're going to quickly ask the panel for their best answer to this. Blank collector. Blank collector.
Okay.
Got it.
Got it.
Got
Good.
it.
Okay, Bradley, your best answer to blank collector.
Andy.
Let's go debt.
Debt collector.
Oh, that's good. I have bone collector.
Bone collector. Oh, my
I got
Lord.
the knife with the blood dripping from
Yeah,
it. the
creepy
book.
Annie tonight.
I went card collector.
Card
That's a good one. That's a
collector.
good
All
one.
right.
This one's pretty close. I said tax.
I'm taking it.
collector.
Tax
Yeah.
and debt. I'm
Yeah.
taking it.
I also put tax collector.
That's two.
That's two.
Oh.
That's two. That's two. Okay. All right. That means, Ted, I need your best answer to this.
Oh.
Blank lighter. Blank lighter. Blank
lighter.
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 Lighter. Blank lighter.
You could put a person. I don't know.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. All right. All right. Ted, your best answer to blank
don't know.
lighter.
Bic lighter.
What'd you say?
Bic.
Big,
Big,
like
yeah.
a cigarette.
Okay, big. So anything cigarette will
I
count.
just have candle lighter. I don't know what that one is.
Yeah, a lighter.
I went cigarette.
That's one.
I said Bic.
That's two.
Oh wow!
There's no such thing as a double tiebreaker, is there? Come on, Braden.
I put lung dart lighter.
Yeah.
Love long dart.
And on a 3-2
That's an
tiebreaker.
epic comeback.
That was.
Wow.
Ted, you're the winner today. Congratulations, Ted. Stay on the line. We're going to get you hooked up, okay?
Okay.
Bradley, great job. Appreciate you, man. Well done. Call back another time. You were a tremendous match game competitor. All-star panel, thank you so much.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you for having me. I got to run down the hall and take over for John and Tammy with the St. Jude Radiothon on KSON. Let's help those kids at St. Jude.
Let's do it. Appreciate you all. We'll be right back with hour number 4 of Annie and Elsten. After this quick timeout, stay with us, friends, on 97.3 The Fan. That was a fun match game. Thanks to our competitors. Thanks to our all-star panel once again. We'll play it again next week. A couple more times before the new year. Then I got the last 2 weeks of the holiday season off. But not today. We're rolling today. It's Annie and Elsten, hour number 4 of the show. Starting just a little bit late because we did go to overtime on match game. The dreaded tiebreaker.
Going to overtime.
So Ken Rosenthal,
Yes.
just not any breaking news, but he said the Guardians are open to trades on Josh Naylor and outfielder Lane Thomas.
Wow, bring him home. Huh?
Now Lane Thomas, they project for about $8.3 million.
Half of a profar,
But
essentially.
you have to trade him
You'd have to trade for him, and then he's a free agent in a year.
in a year. Exactly. They're
Yeah.
both free agents at the end of 2025.
Interesting. Can the Padres possibly pour more chips into the 2025 only bin and trade for
know.
guys with 1 year of control? Resetting some of the topics we had earlier in the show, this is a perfect way to do it. Right before we got on the air today at 10, the Sacramento Athletics, playing in Sacramento, California, playing in a minor league ballpark.
In Sacramento.
In Sacramento. State
Sacramento
capital.
A's.
Sacramento A's.
Does that upset you, A's? Are you upset now?
The Sacramento A's of Sacramento.
That's actually a great bit. I like this.
It is because they drew the attention to themselves.
Right.
If they wouldn't have put that out,
We're
you'd
just the
probably just be like the A's, whatever. But
just
now
the
that they're like,
A's.
we don't want you to include the name Sacramento in it, all you can do is include the name Sacramento.
It's a
We
very
are
pricey
the
stadium you got there in
Athletics.
Vegas.
Yeah.
Fisher. Be a shame if
When
you
you're-
never made it there.
Seat coolers.
And you were just in Sacramento. What? I can't wait.
Forever.
Honestly, I can't wait for that press release when they're like, they're going to stay in Sacramento and they change their name to Sacramento A's. Oh, it's going to be great.
So nobody wants to play in Sacramento as a major league ball player,
No.
except for Luis Severino.
That's
If
right.
the price is right. Da-da-da-da.
He knew it. He knew.
dun,
He
dun,
was told, "We're going to give you a 3-year deal. By the way, we're going to be in Sacramento for count 'em 1, 2, 3 years. Yep, 3 years. Would you like to be our Sacramento ace, Luis Severino? Would you like to be Sacramento Severino?" And he said, "How much money are you going to pay me?"
I'm sorry. Did you call the man Sacramento Severino?
I did.
And then he
That
said,
sounds like a WWE guy.
while most players say, I'll do it, but only if you include a no trade clause, he said, no. We don't need that. Trade away.
How about every year,
Oh,
guaranteed
man.
you
Yes.
put me on the market? That's the first deal of this deal.
Guaranteed.
Sacramento Severino.
You got to really
That
wonder.
is a perfect match game guy.
Yeah, it is. You got to wonder, A, what are the A's doing? Because
Yeah.
the rest of their roster still needs help,
Yeah.
but they signed this big deal to Luis Severino.
Big deal.
But B, also, like, is that how you're going to have to get players if you're the A's? You're going to have to overpay.
Undoubtedly.
I would think so.
And it's the biggest deal in the history of the Sacramento or Oakland Athletic or
Yes.
Philadelphia or Kansas City
The
Athletics
history
franchise.
of the Sacramento A's is a short one so far.
It's just being drawn right now.
Right.
And in fact, you know who the cover guy is?
Luis.
Luis Severino. There he is.
It's going to be on the front of the media guide
For sure.
next to the Sacramento River Cats River.
Yeah, maybe just next to the
Sacramento
river.
River Cats.
Something
Or
river.
maybe
Yeah.
the state capitol in the
There you
background.
go.
You know, you could have the Capitol Dome.
Right by
back
the
there.
thermostat that shows it's peaking at like
108.
109. Yeah.
Sacramento, by the way, is a
disaster.
lovely city.
It
It's a
is.
lovely
It is.
city.
It is. of
Craig will be
course.
visiting in April, and the
I
Padres are there.
will be visiting in April when the Padres are there. I do need to book that Airbnb, though. I
Great
need to
for
do
the
it like right
Padres
now.
to be there in April and not in July or
Any other
August.
time.
They very well may face Luis Severino. We're not here to do an A's cast, though. The reason we bring it up is because Luis Severino last year got $13 million. And whether it's an overpay by the A's, which it is, or not, this year he's getting $22.3 million. And it's almost a $10 million raise for a guy who, put up innings. ERA was below 4, just below 4, but it was below 4. He got lit up sometimes, and he pitched well other times. But Luis Severino is not an ace. He is not a number 2 starter in big league baseball. He's barely a number 3. He's pretty much a number 3 starter, a guy that you start in the middle of a playoff series, not at the start, a guy that you hope is going to suck up some innings for you. And when we turn our eyes back to our beloved Padres, The question becomes if Luis Severino, good old Sacto Sevto there, is worth $67 million, and Matthew Boyd, who just got back from Tommy John and pitched a few innings, he's worth $30 million. How the heck can the Padres sign anybody for their rotation this year, given that not only are they not we don't know. They've never said publicly that they are not going to go over the luxury tax. Right. But here's my biggest thing about Severino, Annie, is let's say they are going to go over the luxury tax. We don't think they're going to go over the second apron of the luxury tax.
I wouldn't think so.
You wouldn't think they'd go far over the luxury tax. And right now, today, December 5th, they're $1 million over the luxury tax. So the distance they have between where they are and the second apron is $19 million. That's not even one Severino on the market. And if you don't even have one Severino of cap space in the market, how the heck are you buying pitching this year?
It's going to be a tricky thing. I mean, they definitely need to shore up this rotation. You're not going to have Joe Musgrove for 2025. He's out with Tommy John. You would probably want to have some depth behind Yu Darvish, and then you just never know if Michael King and Dylan Cease, of course, we're going to think that they're going to go and have seasons like they did in 2023 or 2024, but you just never know, right? So you've got to have some depth for this rotation as well. And hopefully they are able to go the distance and have seasons better or equal to what they did in 2024. But this rotation definitely needs some assistance. And so how are they going to do it? Are you going to need to trade one of your big chips that another team would want, which would be like a Michael King or a Dylan Cease or a Robert Suarez, in order to get the amount of players needed to fill some of these holes if you're not going to go over the luxury tax? Or are you going to try to just work on the fringes and sign some flyers, get some, maybe some guys that you're going to get for a few million? I don't know if you'd even get them for a few million. You'd be getting them for what, $5 to $7 million maybe for a year?
You know, I was just wondering, what's Martin Perez worth?
Right.
If 15 is Boyd, I don't think Perez is 15, but if Perez is 9, he's not worth it.
Right, exactly. The prices now, if you're a Corbin Burns or a Max Fried, you're sitting there just patiently waiting, rubbing your hands together, like this should be pretty good for you. But if you're a mid-level pitcher, if you're a guy who isn't even the top of the market, you're probably going to walk away with a decent payday as long as the teams are needing pitching. And that's going to be the other question, is how do things roll out with what are considered to be some teams that are apprehensive about the TV market, but you're going to have players who are going to want to get deals done in the next few years before the new CBA is figured out, if they're afraid that might not go their way. So you're going to have free agents who are going to want to work to their advantage in these next few years, for sure.
It's a crazy situation. The market is being lifted by a very small, very elite group of franchises that, if you look at them, you can say, well, what unites these franchises? The Yankees, the Dodgers, the Mets, the Cubs. And you could say market size. Well, that's partially true. You could say history. Sure, they're all historical franchises with big brand names, but you'd be missing the point entirely if you said those two things. There's only one answer. It's, do you have a multi-hundred million or billion-dollar broadcast deal for your local rights, or don't you? Because those four teams do, and the Red Sox are in great shape with Nesson, and we're at the end of the list. Everybody else is in a big hot mess where they're either subsidizing their own broadcasts like San Diego and Arizona and Colorado and other franchises, or you're re-upping with the desiccated remains of the Diamond Sports Group, which is what the Angels did and the Rangers and the Cardinals, where they don't even know what they're really going to have this year, but they're okay, for one more year, we're going to try and hang on with you guys. The revenues have disappeared. Those deals that had been pumping up other teams' payrolls, those have gone away. But more importantly, they've gone away without something to replace them that is of a like nature. There's no, in other words, there's no company coming in right now to San Diego, Annie, and going, we're dying to buy the Padres' rights and give the Padres $500 million, and then that's going to be on us to get it back in subscribers for our cable company. Nobody is doing that in San Diego, and nobody will.
And when Rob Manfred is out there talking about what might happen in 2028 and what they're trying to do, and, you saw a lot of teams this year take on another year with FanDuel, formerly Bally's, another year with XYZ before they feel like they've got to make that switch over to MLB Media, if that ever is going to happen for them, because they're still trying to get in at least some amount of money. They had to renegotiate their contracts. You're not getting nearly what you got before, but you're still getting something. And so you're going to try to hold on to that. Read the other day with the Yankees that they're looking at Rob Manfred, like, why should we come over to you for that deal? Like, why should that be something that we should be interested in when we're already making a ton of money on our TV deals? Why would we do that? And like, that's got to be appealing to them. So the uncertainty around that, what might unfold, and then also the fact that it can also be a crutch for teams. Maybe teams just don't want to spend that much money, but they're able to say, well, the TV deal, well, and so it leaves you in this like really ambiguous place. But for right now, prices are high. I mean, even Kyle Higashioka, I had talked to a few people the other day, and I think that there was a thought that like Kyle Higashioka would go for maybe $4 million a year. Like maybe he would be in in that affordable range, and that maybe could have been something that the Padres would have considered. But he jumped to 5 to 6, nearly a $13 million deal when all is said and done. If he gets those years and those incentives, right?
Yeah. Even if he gets bought out, it's 13 and a quarter. Yeah.
So I mean, even for a catcher who's not going to be your starter, the prices are high. And so where will the Padres be able to find the ability to spend if they don't go over the luxury tax and without, I guess, moving someone? Because what they're up against is the fact that all the players that are returning are getting pay raises, and that's what's going to go against that AAV.
Bingo. So I look at it like this. Can the Padres lower their number? How would you do that, right? What are the ways that you lower your number? Well, the biggest way you'd lower your number is you move a big contract off your team. Padres don't have that option. They literally do not have that option. You cannot trade Machado. You would never trade Tatis. You can't trade Musgrove. He's hurt. You're not going to trade Darvish, and he wouldn't be a big asset on the market if you did, Sasaki aside, which is a completely different story, right?
He's the golden goose that everybody wants.
Cronenworth is difficult to trade and difficult to impossible. Xander is probably impossible to trade. However, even just having said that, we're so mad at the Xander Bogaerts contract, which is basically $25 million a year. The issue is that it lasts forever. That's basically Juan Severino. I mean, Juan Severino is getting $22.3 million a year. Xander Bogaerts is getting $25.5 million a year. See where the market's going. In 4 years, Xander Bogaerts is going to be on a below-market contract in baseball.
Yeah, you mentioned it with Fernando Tatis Jr. His contract, if he continues to be a player that's even half of what he's projected to be, right? So, I mean, above average player, still a great player. Even if he's not MVP every year, his contract is going to age very well for the Padres. However, they have contracts that are not going to age as well in terms of just the amount of money against the cap. But yeah, in terms of when you look at the prices and what they might be in like 5 years, what Jackson Merrill might get, for example.
Yes.
It's definitely going up and up and up. And I don't know. I don't know if the CBA, I don't know what might change that. If there is a work stoppage, A, or B, if there is a impasse, if the roads to the TV deal really, really, really close up, like they cannot find an answer to that is lucrative at all.
So if you can't move your big contracts, the next question would be, can I spend affordably to just, kind of find a little guy here and a little guy there and a little guy here, and that's how we're going to do it. And maybe we go a little over, or maybe we're just in that first luxury tax threshold. Okay, well, first of all, we don't know if they're even allowed to do that, which is wild. But second of all, based on the market, okay, no can do. Like you're down to the February, March signing guys. If that's the level of affordability that you have, you're down to the guys who don't get a deal that you offer them $1 million to come into their camp. Now, look, did that work with Jurickson Profar? Of course it did. That's one case in the universe. The year before that, the Padres gave $1 million contract to Adam Engel to be an outfielder for the team. He got 5 at bats. He was gone. That $1 million went away. The year before that, Nelson Cruz got $1 million to be the DH of the team. He got 16 ribbies in April, didn't do a damn thing the rest of the year. He was gone by July. So more often than not, your $1 million flyer is letting $1 million get lit on fire because it just turns into nothing. And 1 out of like 100 times, it'll turn into Jurickson Profar and an all-star season. So if we can't get rid of the big money deals and we really don't have the room, even if they say, hey, spend all the way through the first luxury tax apron, we're cool. If Kutsenda came out, said to Preller, I'm a baller, bro. I'm going to go all the way up to that level, $20 million. $20 million? What the hell are you going to get for $20 million right now on the market? You're not going to get squat. That's Profar. That's re-signing Profar, and you're done. You're completely done. Nothing else. No relievers, no starters, nobody else, nobody on the bench. So as we go to break, what's left? What's left is trading players. That's what's left.
The only other thing I can think of is if the market is not as robust as we think, like in terms of teams willing to pay. Like, did some of these teams overpay in these early contracts that we're seeing in this offseason so far? Like, I would argue they probably, some of them, we've even seen it reported, they've overpaid. So if there are a lot of teams out there that are like, you guys way overpaid, we're not going anywhere near that. And then you kind of get left with guys in January, February who are desperate to get signed. And then they lower their prices a little bit. You know, maybe their prices come down or their years that they're looking for. There starts to be more of a negotiation. But I still think even with that, just like we've seen everything in the world go up, it's the same sort of thing with the players. I mean, it's like an inflation almost. You know, like the prices have gone up regardless. So even $20 million still wouldn't get you. It'll get you something, but it probably wouldn't get you a ton of stuff.
It won't get you a lot. So just be ready, Padres fans, as we go to break. Be ready. I am imploring, not imploring. I am just suggesting to you, do not hold the members of this team that aren't long-term contracted so near and dear to your hearts. Don't make them precious to you. Don't put them in your mind in a place where they are the only players that can contribute to a Padres team in 2025, because AJ's gonna have to move somebody. And he's gonna have to do it in a creative way that keeps this team on its competitive edge. And I believe he can. And I believe there are areas that the Padres can do this and succeed. We've talked about him in previous weeks, guys like Suarez, guys like Cronenworth. But maybe it is a Dylan Cease, and maybe that does feel really icky as you approach it, just like trading Juan Soto felt icky as you approached it. But in the end, you wind up in a better place because you've got a smart guy that's out there trying to make the right move. I do not think the Padres are done. I don't think they're toast. I think they're probably a playoff team next year, but they don't get to play in the Dodgers sandbox. No one does. And trying to is a fool's errand. So what's more likely to be the errand for A.J. Preller is finding a creative way that involves trading a player you like off this team, a player that you really like and that you think is a big part of next year's team. Let's take a timeout. 1:22 is the time. When we come back, we will hit a couple of the stories we have not gotten to today, including San Diego State with just a huge day on and off the court for men's basketball. And our beloved Lions are in action tonight. We get to that as we continue with Annie and Elsten, San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
too. On
I want to start. Should I start it? Because I don't want to mess up our call-in segment next. Should we just do the giveaway right now?
Yeah, we should. That's probably a good call.
I think we should. Okay. We've got 2 tickets for this Saturday at Viejas Arena to see San Diego State take on the University of San Diego in the city championship. Well, can we really call it anymore with UCSD in the mix as well?
Well, if the Aztecs win, they win it. So
that's true because they did beat
If
UCSD.
USD wins, then all of a sudden we got it.
Then does USD and UCSD play?
They do.
Okay.
All
okay.
3 teams in town for
That's
the first
fun.
time ever are all playing each other
That's
in the
awesome.
same season.
Yeah, that's great.
So if you want to see San Diego State USD at Viejas Arena on Saturday, you can either buy tickets at goaztecs.com or you can be the – how many wins do we have this year? 4?
Who's we?
The Aztecs.
The Aztecs.
Yeah, the Aztecs. I am not a San Diego State
We,
alumni.
the Aztecs, as a UCSD
I know.
grad and a employee of USD.
Yes.
Which we are we talking about here?
Who's we, Kimosabe? I understand.
Oh, you mean
yeah.
the other's college that neither of us. Oh, Annie's college. There you go.
Yeah. So what? San Diego State 4 wins right now.
They're 5-2.
5-2. So the 5th caller at 833-288-0973, 1 caller per win. 5th caller 833-288-0973 gets 2 tickets to see the Aztecs and the Toreros Saturday night at Viejas Arena. Good luck to one and all. While Braden takes care of the contest, Annie will chat a little bit about said Aztecs, who took care of business last night in Fresno.
Mm-hmm.
55-point second half.
Yes.
For the Aztecs. Nice to see because I was watching this while I was watching Survivor. Survivor came on at 8, precious show to my heart. So before Survivor started, which was about 20 minutes of gameplay, no points for San Diego State.
I mean, it wasn't always pretty, right?
No.
It wasn't always pretty, and that's how it is on the road often. But they found a way to get it done. Magoon Gwath, great performance. 25 points. He had 3 of 4 on threes. 10 rebounds, 2 blocks. Only had 2 fouls in 28 minutes. He becomes the first SDSU freshman with a 2010 game since, that guy, Kawhi Leonard, who didn't do it until January of his first season in 2010. So I thought it was kind of cool to hear Magoon Gwath afterwards talking about how I can do more than just block shots. I'm more of a player. I just got to get into that rhythm more and show that. But really a good kind of pull it out game for them.
As you know, and the audience may know by now, but I've spent the last few years watching a lot more NBA than I have college. And when you watch a lot of NBA and you come back to the college game, it can be a little bit jarring because the shooting percentages are way down. The athleticism compared to the ultimate league in the world is way down. And so a lot of times when I watch these players, I do it with the eye of like, okay, what's an NBA skill that I see out here? And there's a lot of really good college players who don't have a true transferable NBA skill. I felt really bad starting this show last year in the first 3 months of the show talking about the Aztecs, and I felt like every time Jaden Ledee came up, I was like, he's not an NBA player though. Like, he's a really good college player, but he just doesn't have a single transferable skill to the NBA. He's not big enough to play in the post. He doesn't shoot well enough outside to be a three-point shooter. He doesn't move his feet well enough to defend and be a 3-and-D wing. Like, none of those things are there. And of course, Jaden Ledee is in the G League, and he'll probably stay in the G League. Some players just don't have NBA skills, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's the best of the best of the best of the best who do. Well, I say all that to say, Magoon Gwath is an NBA player. Magoon Gwath will be in the NBA. He will be drafted in the NBA. He will play in the NBA. I am convinced of this. And that is like 7 games into seeing him play. Because coming in, yes, he already has the ability to block shots and to rim protect at an NBA level. He is taking down big-time players and blocking their shots. He blocked the 7'1" dude from Creighton, just completely stuffed him straight in that game.
And he's still getting better.
Bingo.
I mean, he's a work in progress, and in a good way.
But he can run.
Yeah.
He can shoot the 3. He got the Aztecs back into this game by nailing 3 3-pointers. And that a 7-footer who can block shots, who is rangy enough to defend on the wing, who can rim protect, and who can stretch the floor and hit a 3.
He's a menace.
That's an NBA player. That is a modern 2025 NBA player. I will not be shocked if this year keeps going the way it is, if Gwath is drafted next year.
Oh, really?
Yes.
That quickly?
I will not be shocked. Now, he could go the other way. He could get into big-time foul trouble. This could be his career high for points at the end of the year, tonight or last night in Fresno. 25 could be the most he gets all year. But if he starts putting up regular 19, 9, and 4, 19 points, 9 rebounds, 4 blocks, trust me, someone will come calling. And if it's not the NBA, it's the SEC. If it's not the NBA, it's the Big Ten.
Going to be the NIL money somewhere.
Big 12. Kansas comes knocking.
I'm telling you.
Houston.
I'm telling you. And so enjoy what we have this year with Magoon Gwath, because I don't know. I don't know if he'll be back. He's got that ability, and it's really exciting to see. Now, having said that, Annie, what a night. Because, hey, look, beating Fresno State, you're supposed to beat Fresno State. But last year, the Aztecs 4 times got ranked and immediately lost their next game. And there were games just like this, games like this last year. So on one level, that is awesome. Aztecs win, take care of business, no bump in the road there, 20-point win on the road, outstanding. But then off the floor, when I turned on Fox Sports 1, I did so at 7:30 thinking I'd see the intro to the Aztecs game. What I saw was a court storming in Creighton, where Creighton beat Kansas, beat them by 13 points, and knocked off number 1. And to our previous conversation, if you knock off number 1, go ahead and storm the court. That's cool.
I mean, that was great court storming. That was and how fun for those kids. That was a huge upset and a big. You would even say, I think you both kind of said earlier, it's even bigger than what the Aztecs did in their own game last night.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah, that's way better for them.
Way better.
They jumped in the net rankings, and obviously people point out of how bad they beat Fresno State, but the real reason why they just shot up the net rankings is the fact that Creighton beat Kansas. And
That's
San Diego
it.
State, beat up on Creighton in that neutral tournament. But it's good to see that Creighton's out there winning games. I know Houston's going to go out there and win a lot of games in the Big 12. I mean, those are 2 major wins for San Diego State. And plus Gonzaga is probably, once they get to conference play, they're not going to lose again.
Right.
Now they're going to have like 30 wins again.
Yeah. So just an incredible, incredible win. That win is the Creighton win is almost like half of another big time win for San Diego State.
It's like half of beating Gonzaga at Gonzaga last year.
It is. It really is, because
good
it
point.
just takes that Creighton win and just pushes it up, 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 up.
Yep.
And the better Creighton does all year, the higher that goes. The better Houston does all year, the higher that goes. Oregon won yesterday again. They were trailing USC. They had a big second half. They won. They're 9-0. They're ranked 12th. Better Oregon does, the better a loss that was for San Diego State. The less it hurts them, it's almost going to help them at some point that they played Oregon, because Oregon is so good. So just a dynamite night for Coach Dutcher's program, and that Creighton win is going to go a long way. Elsewhere, Duke won. They beat Auburn. They're basically the only ACC team to beat an SEC team.
Them and Clemson are the only ones that beat. And it was Auburn and Kentucky out of all the teams the SEC has.
Yeah.
The 2 their highest ranked teams are the ones that took L's to the ACC.
That's wild. And Cooper Flagg, 22 points, 11 rebounds. I haven't watched his games a lot. I saw some highlights. Tall, smart, good shot. It looks kind of like a, I don't know, KD-esque.
Yeah.
Not actually Durant, but he's got the height, not exactly the same height. He's got that smooth stroke. He's a good one. So that'll be a lot of fun to watch over time. Way
Congrats
to go,
to
Aztecs.
Kyle for winning the tickets.
Okay,
Hey,
Kyle.
Kyle won the tickets.
Kyle is headed to the Aztecs game on Saturday.
That'll be fun.
Looking forward to seeing that one. See if the Aztecs, just take care of biz against Steve Lavin and the Toreros. I'm sure for Wayne McKinney III.
That'll be a big game for him, for sure.
Big game for Wayne McKinney. He might start that game.
Worlds collide.
Yeah.
He might actually start that game.
I'll let you know how it is. I'm gonna call the game tomorrow on that or Saturday night with Jack Cronin,
Wait, that was at
USDToreros.com.
USD.
It's at San Diego State.
Is that San Diego State?
We're
Okay.
on the road for that, so we get 2 road games this year in SoCal.
Well, that's
at least,
a good one to call for you.
At least that I get to be a
Jack,
part of. Jack does all the road games anyway, but we'll be there at Viejas.
Can't wait. Meanwhile, let's take our last time out, and when we come back, it's time to reopen the phone lines for Ask Us Anything. So hang on.
Where's the bell? Those phone calls we were able to get through without ringing the bell the first time.
Yeah.
But giveaways. They had to plow their
Giveaways
way
are
through.
different, yeah.
That net that kept some people out. Who knows if they would have been the 5th caller or not
Did
good
anyone
point.
leave a voice message yesterday?
Yeah, we had one, right?
Oh, really?
With the
Oh,
Christmas
yeah,
movies.
the Christmas movie.
If you want to leave a voice message for Ask Us Anything, you can do it on the Odyssey app. It's great.
You can do it. Leave us a voice message in the Odyssey app or call right now,
We'll play it on the radio.
833-288-0973. You have 11 whole minutes to call the show, 833-288-0973. If you do, we will put you on the air. All we ask is that you come with a question ready to ask the show. We'll take questions from the chat, we'll take them from the Odyssey app, and we'll take them from the phones when we come back. And then at 2 o'clock, we have heard the official word. Tony was already scheduled off. Chris Ello, the voice, didn't turn.
He didn't make it to softball last night.
No, that was a harbinger, as it turns out, of things to come. So they've brought him in. They've brought in your guy, your favorite, Sam Levitt. He's here, 2 to 6. He's on with Scrabes.
Sam and Scraby.
Oh
How
my
many,
goodness!
How many broken chairs today?
Scrabination and Samzerland.
The
An
video.
international battle.
The video of the chair breaking is hilarious.
Yeah, we got to see that. That was
It's the
funny.
first hour of Gwyd and Chris yesterday on the
Yeah.
YouTube, and the look of shock on Scraby's face, like, because he's like mid talking or
Yeah,
something,
right.
and all of a sudden it breaks. Yeah.
He just goes, "Ow!"
It's gone. Hilarious.
He's like, "Did you break your chair, bro?"
Yes, he did. So that's what you get from 2 till not till 6, from 2 till 4:30. That's when Westwood One will take over, and we've got the Green Bay Packers at the Detroit Lions, our beloved Lions, playing as a 3-point favorite. Later tonight, you'll hear it all right here on the Fan. 833-288-0973. Your phone calls next. 146, thanks for being here. Appreciate y'all. Final segment of Annie and Elsten today. We are back tomorrow, full 4-hour show. Mania Melanie will be along at 1:20. I've got a great recommendation for tomorrow.
All right. Good tease.
That I've been watching this week. That I
Is
really...
it Hard Knocks?
No, well, although I have watched Hard Knocks this week. But no, it is not. It's the newest series from the guy who created Parks and Rec and many other great shows, Michael Schur, The Good Place, and others. And I'll tell you all about it tomorrow. We've got, all the rest of our regular Friday features will be clicking in. 12 o'clock Sports Fix Weekend Edition. Anybody Knows is tomorrow's silly game. So, good show tomorrow. Please be with us. Right now, we're going to hit the bumper and take a bunch of calls because you all lined up. So let's get to you. Let's do it. 833-288-0973 is our number. You still do have 3 minutes, technically, to call in, but we got 5 people lined up, so let's just knock it out. Here's Andrew in San Diego. Hi, Andrew. Thanks for calling. Ask us anything.
Hey, what's going on, fellas and fellas?
Fellas and fellas.
Hello. Thanks for regarding me as the fellette.
Fellette.
Yes.
I love it.
Well done.
Not just, hey, guys.
Version I could think of. However, I was pretty much this was directed at Craig, but I didn't hear it myself when my brother talked about the great Cookie Chainsaw Randolph, how he used to say Craig Elsten out of nowhere. Can you tell me the story behind that? I'm sure he was talking about you.
Oh, yeah. No, he was talking about me. So Cookie and I used to work together for a different company across the street. And we would be in the building at the same time. I was working in the mornings. He, of course, Dave Shelley and Chainsaw was always in the mornings. So Chain and I became friends, wound up becoming good friends. In fact, for a brief period of time, he worked for me at 619sports.net when that website was there doing some humor columns. We've always had a great relation. He's moved out of market now. But I used to also come on their show about once or twice a year, Andrew, to promote the Sockers at the time when I was working for the Sockers. And so they then had this bit where Ruth 66 would always be like, I don't know about him. And then Chainsaw would be like, I like Craig Elsten. And so there's this whole thing, like, I don't know. I like him.
Ruth.
Right, exactly. So that's the story behind it, Andrew.
Well, I love your show.
Thanks.
Love yours more.
Thanks, Andrew.
Appreciate you, Andrew. Thanks so much. Here's Juan in Vista. Hi, Juan. Ask us anything, buddy. In 3. In 2.
Juan thought he was calling for the prize.
Hey, Juan. Oh, there he is. Oh, right before the buzzer. Hey, Juan. Ask us anything, pal.
Hey, guys. Just taking a break on FedEx delivery driver, so things are a little chaotic, but
yes.
Thought I'd ask a question. And I kind of just wanted to know how you guys would feel about if the MLB kind of had like a big media contract with someone like Apple or Amazon Prime, and kind of like how the MLS has their situation going.
Yeah.
If that would help.
It's literally the dream of Rob Manfred. That's what he wants. Yeah. He wants to get everybody under one umbrella. He wants the Dodgers and the Yankees and the Cubs and the Mets to voluntarily give up their hundreds of millions of dollars per year monetary advantage and create a system that would be better for all teams. And he's hoping that those zillionaire owners are going to see the greater good in 2 years and agree. Good luck. It'll be after the longest work stoppage in baseball history.
Right. And those teams have contracts that run longer than 2028 with their respective network or whatever they're in, or the network they own. So, and you can still start it without them, but it's not going to be as lucrative money-wise because those are the big draws, those teams.
Yeah, I mean, anyone who's saying, hey, here's our national Amazon or Apple baseball package. Well, it doesn't have the Dodgers or the Yankees or the Mets or the Cubs. Like, it's done.
Yeah, but they're definitely looking, Juan, for those sorts of deals.
Here's Jamie in San Ysidro. Hello, Jamie. Ask us anything.
How's it going, everybody?
Great, man.
Great.
So I was going to ask about, you did your adopting an NFL team. You went through the process, all 30 teams. I don't remember who you ended up with.
Our beloved Lions.
Beloved
played
Lions.
today.
Yeah, they played tonight.
Oh, the Lions. Okay, there you go.
Yeah, we wound up with like the best team. It was pretty lucky draw, huh?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. That's
Severely
unbelievably
influenced.
lucky. Almost like it was rigged.
That's right.
Almost as if we controlled the process from start to finish.
That's right. I wish I knew that
So I was wondering why
in the
you-
future.
Why you wouldn't do that with hockey?
Oh, wow.
Oh, Jamie.
I root for the Anaheim Ducks.
Oh, because, well, you root for the Cowboys anyway. You still played along.
I know. But, I mean, we have the Ducks affiliate in town.
We do.
So I do root for the Ducks.
You know, Jamie,
it's a tough route right now. They're not very good.
I don't disagree, Jamie. I'm just going to put it that way. I don't disagree. I wouldn't be mad if we picked up a team, for all the leagues and had fake attachment to it.
It's a suggestion we can consider.
Yeah, we'll take it under advisement. We're a little we're a quarter of the way into the season now. So
We're probably going to grab onto whichever team is pretty good and hold on.
I've got Winnipeg on my eye, just because I wanted to keep their team in town. It's kind of a major league type thing, win and stay. Here's Roman in San Diego. Hi, Roman. Ask us anything.
Quick story and then my question. I spent most of the summer in the hospital, really, really sick. It was touch and go there for a while. They were telling my husband to be prepared. So I got to watch a lot of the Padre games on my iPad. And the summer that they had brought me so much joy and so much hope that I am confident that they had a lot to do with my recovery. So I'm super grateful, even though they didn't make it very far in the playoffs. I'm super grateful that they had the season they had. That said,
awesome.
Here's my question.
Great. I'm glad you're feeling better, hopefully.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, getting there.
Okay.
So here's my question. Who would win in a fight between Braden and the afternoon guy?
Scrabes. Oh, wow.
Which one?
Scraby.
Yeah, it's got to be Scrabes.
He's got more weight for sure.
He's got a reach advantage on you
He's
too,
got,
Brady.
great. I got to fight. You got to have to fight dirty in that particular case. But
now,
I
who's
don't
got
win.
the
I don't
bigger
win
dog?
the weight class.
Braden, you've got the bigger dog.
Agreed.
In you.
That's for sure.
Agreed.
You've got the bigger
Scraby
dog.
doesn't have that dog in him. But
No, he does not. He does not.
But
he's got
He'd like start laughing at some
He's got
point.
the size. He's got the size advantage for sure.
Yeah, he could just lean. in.
I got to go with the underdog here. I think Braden, you're selling yourself short.
Oh well, I appreciate that, Roman.
Why don't we try it and find out?
Just selling his reach short
right.
a little bit.
I'll go train at MMA gym.
Roman, we got to run, man. But thank you. I appreciate you. Will and Jerry, give us a call back tomorrow. We promise to take your call at that time. We just ran out of time.
What in the Logan Paul's going on over here?
Stand by. Scraby can only use his feet.
We'll have you come out in a Corvette,
Yeah,
do
that's
some
right.
kind of entrance.
You
some
get to
intro.
use any broken chairs possible. All right, Scraby Show with Sammy next.
Bye.